All right, we've got the Viper playing as French in this best of five. He's spawning on the left side of Dry Arabia and has sent his scout on a southward trajectory. And one PuppyPaw is going to be playing as Abbasid Dynasty on the right side of Dry Arabia in the red. And he has sent his scout north. And we see a second scout coming out of Viper going north also.
Yeah, this is kind of interesting because one thing I was thinking about last night, I see PuppyPaw. He's one of those players that likes to open Delhi on Dry Arabia a lot. And I was curious to see if he was going to whip out that strong point because I think it's one of his best plays from what I've been seeing Golden Egg so far. Surprising that he went for the Abbasids, but I wonder if he suspected the French because I do feel like, although the Delhi do have some opportunities against the French, what we've been seeing out the top 8 players, I would say at this point, the French do tend to trounce the Delhi on Dry Arabia.
Yes, I think that makes sense because Delhi tries to take their victory condition in Feudal Age, where French has one of the best Feudal Age units. And while spamming horsemen as Delhi can be quite effective into a civilization like the English with the longbowmen, French knights eventually they will beat your ass. And the problem is you can start with a spearman arms race, but eventually if you're continuing the arms race and the French doesn't commit to a fight, and they're just getting more knights and more archers, and you're getting more horsemen and more archers, it becomes untenable to keep that position and to have the fight go well with micro. Eventually, you would want more. And when you get to Castle, you don't immediately beat the French. Sometimes Castle Age offers a massive power spike into an enemy civilization. But the French are one of the civs that can continue to fight with enough of an advantage in army size in feudal against Castle Age opponents. So you really want to have someone that can stay on par in the arms race of both military creation as well as economy creation. And Delhi has this weird kind of curve in how their economy scales up. They have like nothing special, nothing special, nothing special. Suddenly their economy upgrades kick in, circa around 8 minutes, and then suddenly they get castle, they get a bunch of relics, and they have their sites and stuff. But Abbasid Dynasty can start matching that bonus French economy much quicker with their Golden Age, a second town center, and that is going to help them a lot with that extra villager production.
Yeah, typically take a more static and defensive approach, right? You go for multi-TC, usually stopping at 2 in this matchup at the moment. And then Spears, with the cheap phalanx research, it gives you an opportunity to root a knight and then instantly stab him down with double the damage any other civ is capable of, which I just love.
And you say double damage, you mean because they reach over each other's shoulders?
Yeah, so that like you've got double the amount of units that can potentially attack, right? It's why phalanx up against, like to bring it back to Delhi for a moment, like the idea of beating them, the elephants with spears, in theory works really well. Doesn't in practice because elephants can just run away, of course. But like the whole point is what makes phalanx so good is it essentially allows you to optimize your spearmen. If one weakness can be highlighted about melee compared to ranged, is that when you get into a fight, it's much harder to engage with your full melee compared to your ranged, right? Phalanx alleviates a lot of that trouble, meaning you don't spend half your time spreading your line out like it's some sort of organized English queue of you waiting to like go shopping. Like, yeah, everyone just line up, take it in turns. Like, no, it's more like a Black Friday rush, right? Everyone's scrambling over each other to stab over the top and get their hands on the latest deal on the TVs.
Wait, yeah, well, do people still scramble over each other? Don't you guys have internet?
Yeah, I mean, like, I go for the internet, right? I've seen how kind of savage those sales get, the rush. I'm not willing to put myself in the middle of that, okay? That's crazy.
Like physically going in the real world is kind of dodgy to begin with. Like, I prefer to settle most business over the internet, including, you know, any Black Friday sales. But we do have people getting a little physical here, with PuppyPaw sending his scout to start harassing villagers. Now, villagers don't get stunned anymore when they get hit, but they still get hurt. That little sword, eventually, death by 1,000 cuts and all that, and villagers have to go back. Now, a cute little mnemonic device or tip that I picked up when I see the amount of French villagers on gold, and maybe this is a little basic level of thinking, but usually the amount of villagers that they have on gold when you scout them around this time is the amount of consecutive knights that they could queue up and then rush you with. So if you see 4 villagers, you see Viper's bank right now is like 200 gold, right? So with 200 gold, he can make 2 knights, and by the time those 2 knights are done, he has enough gold for another, and then it starts drying up. So if you continue to have information on the French gold, you see 2 villagers on gold, they're probably just going to make 1 knight and then go econ and try to keep you busy and mentally occupied that there's going to be more knights, but it really only is enough gold for 1 or 2. And then if you see 4 villagers, that's 4. And if you see 6, 7 villagers, that's non-stop knights. So a cute little tip you can use at the lower level.
That's pretty handy. It is in a little bit warped at the high level from the wheelbarrow perspective, right? Because if you don't go for wheelbarrow, like, it can skew your perspective, which is very interesting for Viper, actually. We are now 5.5 minutes in the game. He's only now getting the mill. I've seen a bunch of different builds around this, and I've got to say, I feel like the optimal one is wheelbarrow when you're 1/3 of the way through building your feudal.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. And Viper, he always says he doesn't use build orders, but that's like saying, like, I'm not using my mental capacities. And in Viper's case, I find that very hard to believe. Like, yeah, maybe he didn't write them all down on a little post-it note and pasted it on his monitor, but it's pretty obvious that he heavily plays with, let's say, even if they're adaptive build orders, like, he heavily thinks about how he intends to change his cadence going into every match, where sometimes he gets an early wheelbarrow with English, 6 farms, then another time it's like 3 farms, and then another time no farms, and then he goes straight into longbow rush. And maybe nowadays English always plays farms, but even here with the French, like you said, he just made his mill. That shows a much bigger attribution to harassment and map control and maybe the need to kill villagers than it usually does, right?
Yeah, I also think it comes down to the matchup when you get wheelbarrow. Usually, like, for example, in French mirrors, some people will sacrifice getting early wheelbarrow to get their first knight out 10 seconds early because it lets you set tempo aggression, right? It sounds so petty, but 10 seconds difference is half of the run of the map towards your opponent's base with French knight. It's actually a big deal.
That's true.
I mean, these French knights so far, they get some chip damage. It's not too bad. But you can see PuppyPaw is starting to get the static troops up and is building the Horsemen. Horsemen actually a surprisingly effective solution up against Knights because if they ever outnumber them, they can chase them, right? They can just keep poking and prodding and it's death by 1,000 cuts.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why it's nice to have a couple of them, especially Knights that try to limit test and push themselves to the brink and then heal up somewhere in the corner. If you can analyze where your opponent typically sends those low Knights, or if you see them running in the deed, yeah, then those Horsemen are the perfect finisher. Whereas the Spearmen are the victor against Knights in a direct combat. But the first archer arrives here at 7 minutes and 20. The first archer starts to harass Spears. Another villager falls. So we're actually looking at a 4-villager lead for the Viper over 1 PuppyPaw right now.
And you'd expect a little bit, right? Like, you are a French player, you do build them a little bit faster, but this does come down to the fact that PuppyPaw hasn't really gone for his secondary TC. He is now getting a little bit on the stone, so we might see that coming up in the next 2 minutes. But I feel like he has to reinvest in his army because of this berry spawn. This berry spawn is actually terrible for this matchup. It's 40 your base, and these archers, just 3 archers on the front. Viper's got a creeping smile on his face right now because he can do whatever he wants. You know what he wants to do, Grubby? Do you know what this man loves to do? TC boom. Look at that income for the French in the stone department right now. It's not just the Abbasid player going into multi-TC.
That's pretty rough because he started with the delayed wheelbarrow with the earlier pressure. He's netted himself several villager kills, and then all Abbasid wants to do is to equalize in that economy slowly, to start scaling up your economy scaling and to get some villagers back. If Viper does the same thing, then that feels a lot more hopeless for PuppyPaw to catch up in that department. But one thing should be mentioned, while Viper is getting the stone, he does not yet have the wood. And as long as he keeps making archers, he can't make a second TC.
That's right. Like, he needs to slow down the production, but a few Knights can actually do a lot of damage because look what info he just got. Viper was wrapping around the back. He spotted the stone. He was like, where's he built the TC? There's no way he went loose, right? Against an aggressive player, this feels like suicide. But PuppyPaw, he weighed up the options, and he's done something I've seen players like Lucifron do a lot. They actually shift their second TC to the back of the map because, as we know, like in the World of Age of Empires, it's flat Earth. If you walk off the edge, you just disappear. So if you stick yourself right up against the edge of the map, you can't be flank attacked by these Knights.
And he did just scout it, right? Like, yeah, he saw that. He got attacked by the town center. It's the observing bug that makes it disappear there when you see his vision. But yeah, imagine, I think I saw one town center yesterday from a Roost player on High View in the Golden League that was hidden and wasn't found too early. So that was kind of a big deal. I think it was Lucifron. Yeah, Lucifron. Yeah. Hide his town center like that. But now you see the triple, I call this the give you anxiety composition, although I guess more people do this right now. But he always
Rams.
Yeah, that's true. Like, it's the 1-1-1 comp, right? Where you make one of each. But it's true, you're right. GUA is a 1-1-1-1, the 4 unit choice composition.
It's like, to bring back, like, you're correct, it was Lucifer that done it. I think the importance is, like, it's not about even hiding your TC. It's the fact that because PuppyPaw wants to be more efficient with his eco as he spreads it out, he wants them to be split, right? Because logically, once you get rid of your initial resources, if all your TCs are condensed, you get less efficiency, you get more idle time when you're walking around to those looser spots and spawning more villagers. So you want them loose, right? The cool thing about putting it in the back corner is it's harder for Viper now sneaking raids unnoticed.
Right, and just sheer travel distance, right? Like even the travel distance is worse there. To go all the way there, it makes it easier for him to be called out and be out of position. But let's talk about the way that Viper is playing this right now. He's killing villager after villager, and he's doing that thing called the arms race, where he keeps his units, but he never commits to a full fight, and he keeps PuppyPaw on his toes. At this time, PuppyPaw did try to catch a few reinforcements. He's got a nice little squadron of horsemen there on the left that is actually preventing reinforcements from joining here. And while the Viper has enough stone to get a second town center, he did never have enough wood yet because he kept spending it on spearmen and a couple of archers. So this stone has been in the bank, and it is giving about as much interest rate as crypto right now. Like it hasn't been good for him to have that at this time.
All right, I don't think crypto is the fair one. We'd have to go for one of those weird kind of coins, like, I don't know, kitty coin or something. It's not really paying due diligence or any reward for him. And now look at the play. Look how aggressive his own secondary TC is going to be. Towards the center of the map, far out in the open. And this is cool, actually. He's playing off of implied odds. Like, PuppyPaw has built horsemen, but his horsemen are reactionary. So his assumption is that he will never spot this TC, and thus it's not a risk for Viper to be this aggressive with it.
Yeah, I mean, the horsemen are on the way there now. Perhaps you can actually see when deer are being culled as they are visible through the fog of war, and then suddenly they're not. So maybe he's aware of that. A little bit of inattention there. One knight goes down as PuppyPaw gets a couple of kills. He's also finally equalized in villager count. Took him long enough with 2 town centers to get enough villagers to be on par with Viper. But I always caution people, remember, having equal villagers doesn't mean that you're suddenly in an equal economic spot. You've just reached equal villagers, which means until now you've been gathering less all the time. When you tally how much they've gathered so far, PuppyPaw is still behind at this time.
Yeah, and now, well, you know how this works, Grubby. If you mention his name, he gets summoned to the game. You said GUA, and now we have got the 1-1-1 build coming out from Viper, as he has added in the ram now on the front side, and that's frustrating for PuppyPaw. Look how many berry patches he didn't even get onto here. Like, that's meant to be his safer resource. He's already exhausted his sheep. He's going to actually struggle to get on top of his food sources in the coming minutes.
Yeah, that's true. And, you know, he's going to be emptying his berry patch on the right side. I think there's a large exodus of villagers going to the deer camp on the south, on kind of the east side of the map. That's a lot of travel time.
The wraparound, backstab coming in from the horseman, but not enough to commit here. He doesn't feel confident about this. In the meantime, PuppyPaw is extending out into those pocket ecos we were just talking about. Spearman on the front line at the moment for Viper. Not many knights in the mixer right now, because remember, he did go for that secondary TC finally, so hasn't reinforced the front line of heavy cavalry at the same rate as before. But now, buffering him away, PuppyPaw in a little bit of trouble, only really having Spears here. Spears trying to rush in, but of course the bonus damage coming out of the archers, allowing them to blitz through them fast. And in the meantime, the ram doing some serious damage, targeting onto the archer range, forces the pull of the villagers, and now villagers exposed as well. It looks like PuppyPaw might be forced entirely off of his wood.
Yeah, PuppyPaw wanted to go for a castle age because he knows he cannot win an infinite arms race against superior unit type. He needs to leverage what he's going to be having eventually, which is a bonus economy with a castle age and then maybe men-at-arms or veteran units and whatnot. But as he had 1,200 food, 200 gold, Viper struck, and PuppyPaw was paralyzed. He had to defend. He sent in the horsemen, the spears, and the archers, and one camo archer that made the knights feel rather uneasy. But Viper expertly focused down the camo archer and is now looking to kill as many buildings as he can, particularly targeting the production buildings.
Absolutely, because the 150 wood each, you just denied him on the wood, right? And if he wants to counter what you're doing right now, he's going to have to switch into archers himself, something that actually costs a majority of wood to produce. And this is just phenomenally identified by Viper. It's denying a lot of value to PuppyPaw, and PuppyPaw now in a very uncomfortable situation. Halfway up to castle, but doesn't really have the great line of infrastructure to build up an army to defend himself now.
Is he up to castle? I don't see
no, he's halfway on the resource.
Right, right. Okay, yeah, that makes sense. Well, that would have maybe been able to save him here, but as it stands, PuppyPaw is losing houses. He's unable to deal with the Rams attacking right now. There's more and more Rams coming in. Viper spending his resources very well. Look at how phenomenally low all his resources are right now. He's putting everything he has into this extended feudal attack, going for more houses, going for the House of Wisdom, and look at the wood lines on this map. First, that first big green patch of wood by PuppyPaw had been denied. Now the second one is denied, and he's back to the original patch. His lumber economy has been very difficult to be managed this game.
Yeah, it's been a manscaped a little bit too much. I mean, if it was a haircut, I'd call it the fry tuck, right? Because it's missing the central crop of hair here. It means he has to go out to those edges where it's a little bit more dangerous, where Viper can keep reaching in as he sets up a second army to go now raid in the north. And this is heavy pressure, folks. Remember, PuppyPaw, Plains the Abbassids, he only has 2 landmarks, and the heavier one, the one that's meant to be harder to breach, is about to fall. And with it, he'll also lose the Golden Age, meaning he'll be gathering less resources. Clash underway, Spearman bracing. In the meantime, Archers focus fire onto the Camel Archers, and now the raid in onto the Pocket Eco. Caught out in the open with his trousers down. He's going to get spanked by the snake.
Now Archers coming in, they're trying to hold here, but the Knights and the Spears and Archers find the only source of safe food that PuppyPaw has right now, that second deer camp. Viper hitting him everywhere where it's hurting. The army gets cleaned up here eventually by the Spears, the Horsemen, and the Archers, but there is a secondary army.
God,
Viper is not losing any villagers during this, and the Rams keep on ramming.
Yeah, right now, like he says, what's your brother's name? Can you just... Is it Ram? No, it's Wham. Is it Ram? No, it's Wham. It's Ram. It's definitely Ram. Here, have some Rams. Viper, like, this is such a good trade. Think about the cost of each of these, right? 300 wood each. How many buildings did he turn to rubble here? These Rams actually paid for themselves. It's ridiculous.
All of them. Yeah, the Rams, I mean, they're not being protected anymore, but he's killed so many houses. Many are being rebuilt, though. Credit where credit is due. PuppyPaw is holding that PuppyPaw strong as he's trying to stay alive here, stay afloat, treading water, as he's finally committed back to the original berry bush. With one deer camp gone, the second berry bush gone. Yeah, it's tough for PuppyPaw to get the economy that he requires here. Slightly ahead in villager count, but doesn't have the safe resources. Now, perhaps one of the final strikes here of PuppyPaw as he tries to drive away the Viper. It would be really spectacular if he manages to end up turning this around.
Yeah, they have to be less like a puppy striking and more like a wolf at this stage. Like right now, he is kind of looking like yeah, exactly. Dire wolf. He needs to be a dire wolf right now.
Yeah, bro. None of that baby wolf action.
No IIR anime happy time right now. Okay, this is the grim dark future right now. Okay, we need to see some vicious attacks coming up from PuppyPaw, but we're not seeing it, right? Everything he's doing is reactionary. We haven't really seen a true proactive move into Viper's eco, and it's just allowing Viper to gradually boom ahead of his opponent here.
Yeah, and some people may be thinking like, dude, PuppyPaw, you need to get proactive. You can't just be responding here. And, you know, it's valid, but at the same time, what is he going to push with? Horsemen are not really send and forget units when there's even 1 or 2 spearmen next to a town center at home. And it's the strength that Viper has on the map that allows him to push around his weight, that allows him to make PuppyPaw fully on the defensive as PuppyPaw tries to secure wood lines, food sources, and he's done a good job. Look at that nice lumber income right now that he has, 12 to 1400 per minute. That's going to help him to rebuild much what has been lost. But that House of Wisdom still down, doesn't have the House of Wisdom upgrade, and no econ upgrades either, whereas Viper's got 2 of them.
And these trade-outs right now, like Viper, you can see he's being patient with the Knights, and now we're right in on top of the Archers for the good trades. Reduced damage due to the Camel Archers being there, but look how many of his Archers are still alive! Look how many dead Spearmen are now rotting in the ground! And that means your village is going to be exposed soon as well. Camel Archers now being targeted down to unleash the beast that is the Royal Knights. And once those camels are gone, PuppyPaw may begin to disintegrate. The military count now at risk of being tripled up by Viper.
All throughout this, PuppyPaw didn't even have ranged armor upgrade. One of the most important upgrades, as Archers have the highest attack uptime. Was it a mistake? Was it an oversight? Or was he so pressured in his gold economy, in his lumber, in his food? Did he need so many units so quickly that he never had the chance to go for it? It but highlights the difficulty that Puppy has been in, the quandary that Viper forced him in with the non-stop pressure, with the split between military aggression and economy build-up in the meantime, being all over the map.
setting the pace, right? Like being that dynamic force, like that's the thing. Like when you play the French, you're the tempo setter, and he has done that remarkably well. And now look at this. Military infrastructure on the front line, fortified upgrades as well. He is here to stay, and that is worrisome because PuppyPaw needs to move in this direction. Look at that southern wood line. It's got a decent reserve right now, but in the next 5 minutes, that's going to deplete fast due to the composition he's pushing. Archers and Spearmen both demand wood for their arrival on the battlefield, and it is going to be quite the strain for PuppyPaw to find additional wood lines after that one.
Yeah, exactly. And he's starting to work a bit on that ram that has now denied another berry patch. Note that Viper still has units on the deer patch in the center of the map that Paul would have loved to exploit. And what are these units doing here? What is that, Killer Pigeon? 2 spears and an archer?
I think they have like dogophobia, if that's a thing. Like, oh, wolf! Like, what was that, 40 villages? Just like, nope, not wildlife. I'm not dealing with a wolf today.
I don't know if he saw the 2 spearmen and archers, or if it was really just the 2 wolves, or he realized, you know, what if he thought that there was a berry patch there because it was green, and then he realized that's not actually what it was.
They thought it was berries because it was like patches of red, and then they realized it was actually just the red blood stuck in the wolf's mane, where it'd been munching on
you see, like, there's a few small wood patches in the bottom of the map, and they kind of look like berries. Maybe he went for that.
What is this outpost spam?
Desperation.
I mean, this is stabilization in a way, I guess.
He's the equivalent of pulling all your villagers on King of the Hill. You know it's not going to work against 3 keeps with burning oil, but it's still the sensible thing to do.
I feel like
too little, too late.
I feel like PuppyPaw forgot that he's not playing Mongols, he can build walls. It looks like a Mongol play to defend, right? I'll just build a million outposts. That'll save me. The problem though, folks, is PuppyPaw is still in feudal while Viper's making his way up. So even with all these outposts, there's no sprinal defenses. There's no real threat for Viper diving in with 1 or 2 rams.
Oh god, this tower spam is just reminding me of Core, the German player in the Nomad FFA. He had like 150 bomber towers surrounding his wonder. I was like, looks just like one-on-one. But I mean, it's valid. Like, this is the thing to do, right? PuppyPaw is trying to stay alive, and maybe this helps a bit.
I mean, when you said Core, I thought you meant remind you of him because he's losing, because he just lost there. PuppyPaw gives over. Viper opens the series with a win.
GG. PuppyPaw calls it Viper 1-0. Was Abbasid Dynasty the counter Civ that he tried to counter French with? Did he try to counter maybe a Mongol pick here on Dry Arabia? Did he try to counter the French, or was it a throwaway? This remains a question for the winner's interview, if anything. But Viper, he starts strong, picks one of the top civs on a map like this, controlled the economy and the aggression really well, and he subdued PuppyPaw into submission.
You know, he's basically putting a leash on that doggy right now, and PuppyPaw, he's gonna have to find a way to be a very naughty pet, because at this rate he's looking like he's been tamed, right? That was pretty surgical from Viper. Relentless aggression. None of this silly me like TCs, me spam TCs nonstop French play, right? Me go hour-long game because loads of resources. He didn't care about that. He understood that the French, historically, from the beginning of this game's release, they are a high-tempo feudal aggressive civ. Use them that way, and you can win games. And he starts off fast. And you can see how different Viper is today compared to like halfway through the set yesterday, where hour-long games don't entertain this lad, all right? It gets a little bit tedious. He wants this over with fast, and he blitzes game 1.
Still, PuppyPaw, whatever happens in this match, it's been amazing. I mean, we had just 2 months ago, 2.5 months, let's say 3 months, the N4C, where PuppyPaw was not part of the top 8. We had a pretty established top 8. Lenok was part of that. The Mista was part of it. PuppyPaw and Wham came in here and said they are part of that new top 8 here in Golden League.
On the board, and how does he react? How do both players react? They swap seats because it's French versus Abbasid again, this time on Lipany.
All right, Lipany, a map with small amounts of, let's say, terrain blocking certain areas, but not much, and it's a bit like Dry Arabia, but a little bit different. But it's a relatively open map. Though, I must say, I've seen some Lipany maps where you could put 3 clever walls and kind of wall things off. This is the most Dry Arabia Lipany I've ever seen.
Honestly, I feel like anytime it's got this this generation, right, where you've got the desert, it ends up being dry Arabia. I don't know why.
Yeah.
I swear there's something in there because I agree. Like sometimes you get these mountain ranges that make it look like it should be, I don't know, like one of the pass maps, right? Like French Pass or something, like old French Pass. Instead,
Yeah.
this has like
The-
2 baby hills and like a small cliffside.
yeah.
It's pretty pathetic.
This feels like a project with a parent and a child, and the child was asked to paint on a canvas, and they were like, "Oh, I paint on a canvas, wow!" And they were like, "Okay, here you go." And they just took 2 lazy strokes and walked away and got distracted by a butterfly. It's like, this isn't done. I was promised mountain ranges and cliffs, but this is some ADD map generation here from the Lipany boys.
You know, my favorite part is like when you get those Lipany generations where it does give you a giant mountain, but it's in a corner and it's inaccessible. To use your metaphor, that's like where the child then decided to like sneeze on the art project, right, and just left a giant snot patch in the corner that looks like they put more effort into that than their actual
Like
painting.
there, gone creativity, but unusable art, basically.
Very inspirational. I mean, it is kind of weird. Like it makes me annoyed as well because I want to see like these ginormous mountain ranges. You never really get to. I want to have that kind of Lord of the Rings feeling where like someone's pinned up against a mountain. It's like either jump or fight me. You have no other way out. We don't ever get that.
Is that how you usually see maps like old French pass? Someone is stuck against the back of a mountain pass, and then there's like an exciting battle that ends quickly as one can't get away. I usually see it more in the 3 layers of stone walls and sacred side chokeouts, but and I see now why you like French pass and mountain pass and stuff. Your games go very differently. You squeeze a small archer ball against your opponent's side of the mountain range, and you say, "This is where I'm making a stand. It's now or never."
My landmarks are on fire, but as long as we live here, man, we can rebuild the empire. No, you can't rebuild the empire, but no, I like it when on the French pass when you get those nice little sneaky passages, right? Battle for Thermopylae logic, like 300 to sneak around the back. Whereas this tiny passage that you can just be found, and maybe a traitor tells you about it, and you find your way past those 3 layers of walls straight into their base, and you're cackling to yourself. Ah, I live for those.
Only happens in his dreams, though, because French Boss doesn't have those avenues. But that never stops Killer Pigeon from looking for them. Bless his heart.
Does the new generation not do them? The old one did, but I don't know if the new one
doesn't have it anymore. But we haven't played French Boss for a bit on ranked, so who knows? Vodka, can we get a sheep count for both players here as we kind of take stock of where they are? We have PuppyPaw, of course, in the French in the northeast, and Viper on the bottom left. Do you remember? Maybe you don't have your hotkey set up that you had before. No sheep count. Okay, but they both have sheep. That has been established.
So 11 sheep on one side.
Oh, there we go. He still got it. Okay, cool. 11 herdable sheeps here for the Viper. He's working on berries, so that's the totality of what he found. And then on the, I forgot about this small little desync and delay. And this is 11 sheep as well, and he's eaten some. So I think it's fair to say that PuppyPaw had 13 and Viper had 11. So yeah, is that 1 sheep advantage or 2 sheep? Because every sheep you find, the opponent doesn't. So any 1 sheep advantage is a 2 sheep advantage. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the way I like to think about it. It's like, I think it's more if the sheep mattered that much to you. I think like for Viper, it matters less right now, but it will in the coming minutes, right? When he starts getting raided, as we saw for PuppyPaw in last game, your berries are a no-go when a few French Knights show up. So you have to fall back to the sheep. So they do become important at that stage. So it does feel like a 2-point differential. So
it's a zero-sum game. 2 more sheep for PuppyPaw. Nice job there. As the total amount is 24, and he's got 13 of them. Viper reached Feudal Age now. We saw PuppyPaw's approach with Feudal Age. It was a couple of spears going into kind of a delayed second town center, very delayed. And Viper's approach was to delay wheelbarrow. We see a much earlier wheelbarrow coming out of PuppyPaw, so we should see less pressure coming in from PuppyPaw as well.
When you say that, I think with this timing, it should only delay his first knight by about 5 to 10 seconds. You see the first one is now being pushed out. He's going straight into the archery range. Hold on a sec. Is he just copying and pasting what Viper done for an opening? Because it looks that way.
Well, no, exactly right. He's got the early wheelbarrow and it starts paying off. But that's a 225. No, never mind. French. French upgrade.
Oh God,
my
maths.
SMH.
No one told me I'd have to do maths today. 30% discount off of 275 gold and is 50 wood, right? Was it 75 wood?
25 wood. Because
25 wood, yeah.
25, 150,
Yeah.
200, 140, 165 resources plus villager building time. So he's not going to earn that back immediately. Plus, PuppyPaw only had 3 villagers on gold. And if you remember my little tip, 3 villagers could mean 3 knights. But when there's wheelbarrow, it means even less. So I think this is like 1 or 2 knights while psyching out Viper, saying it could be more. But I don't think this is going to be like straight up 4 knight attack, is it?
No, I think you'd like get 2, maybe later on you get another 2 and you set up 2 little proxy raid groups and then you mainly push archers. Or alternatively you go into like stone yourself and TC boom, right? That's another possibility because typically the Abbasid players don't check your base. They don't raid at all, right? They might scout, but it's not like they're going to flood through with horsemen in this matchup very early.
Yeah, usually it's tough. You don't get to heal those horsemen up, and you may need every single one for defense. He does have a scout in the gold line of PuppyPaw, and he sees it's now 5 villagers. If he looks at it, and no, I gotta say, I would say he probably is looking at it. He's got 3 spears at home against Double Knight, then 3 archers. So he's kind of aware what PuppyPaw is doing. He knows it's a wheelbarrow opening, and then leaning more heavily into knights and archers. And let's see, the scout went all the way back to the stone, and this stone is now going to get harnessed. So PuppyPaw is also kind of doing that delayed second time center killer pigeon.
Yeah, the timing was remarkable as well. Like, he actually waited until the scout left by the looks of it, right? And then when the scout leaves, now he's hidden information. I'm not sure if he had full vision. He could have, though, because his scout was shifting across, right? And, like, TC vision is quite high. So that's what I'm curious to, if we saw the vision, whether he actually knew that that scout was leaving. Either way, even if he didn't, like, he's actually going to do this play unknown to Viper, right? Like, it's going to go hidden for at least half the cost of the TC being gathered.
Yeah, true, because that scout is right now in the center of the map. It's actually coming back. I think he wants to maybe get some information about where the units are going to be striking him, where they are striking from. That scout is in the middle, so he doesn't know about this French PuppyPaw stone camp that is now gathering up. Nice little horseman chase on the knights.
How long were they idle on that wood line for? He didn't realize. Like, he had a lot of villagers just sitting there, like, looking at the wood in their hands and looking at the wood trees and not really understanding how it worked.
Yes. Yeah, that was a little bit of economy loss. 8 villagers not working for 15 seconds. That's pretty painful. That's going to cost you about 80 wood, probably, I would say.
Mm-hmm. And if you want to go back for a TC now, you only just gathered the information that PuppyPaw is going for his own TC, so you're going to be delayed if you try that race. And if you get into that race, although it is cheaper for you with a 25 food cost compared to the 50, due to the discount that the Abbasids get, your production rate is lower, right? Because the French, for God knows whatever reason imaginable, get to produce villagers quicker.
Yeah, and I mean, I think design asymmetry is good, so long as the balance is good as well. You know, French, they're on the top of the ladder right now, and they seem quite good in tournaments as well. So we basically have come full circle back to Genesis meta, where it's like French herder knight best. And then it's like, no, actually, people know how to defend against this stuff now. And then finally, French meta and the game understanding evolved again, and they're quite good again. But you know what? That's why I love that everyone gets to play all the civilizations that they possibly could want in Age of Empires 4. Many other RTSs you typically identify as one race, but in AoE 4 you can be and must be anything and everything that you can be, possibly. So
at least from a competitive standpoint, like you know, I'm not going to name names, but we all know someone on the leaderboards that only likes to pick the Mongols or Delhi.
Yeah. I mean, I know those guys, and I try to give respect where respect is due, and there isn't that much there for me sometimes.
I was waiting for that. It's like,
whatever makes him happy, man. But it does not make me happy.
No. I mean, if you're just an enthusiast, fair enough. But if you're trying to be a pro, come on, guys. Maybe more than 2 civs.
But maybe they're not trying to be a pro. I mean, I'm only
some
playing
of them are
Chinese.
Trying to be a pro, Grubby.
I'm only playing Chinese right now, but I'm a try-hard casual, and Chinese aren't exactly the best on the leaderboard, so I do so guilt-free. But I do wonder sometimes, how do they sleep? How do they sleep?
With the elo they stole from other players, tucked underneath their pillows, I imagine.
Like the last word they say before they fall asleep, they're like, got him! And then they just...
they just say one of the Civ lines, right? Like one of the Mongol lines or one of the Delhi lines. There you go. And then they instantly fall asleep.
Yeah, that's it. That's it. But what we are not falling asleep because this game is so cool. Viper has delayed his second town center so much. What do you think is going on here, KP? He just has enough resources for it. We're looking at the 10-minute 30 mark. What?
So I'm going to take a wild guess here and say he's going for a ram play. It's definitely not because the game's already told me that, but this is the feudal win for the Abbasids. Like, we don't see it often, but they're summoning it. I don't know how this is, like, if we go back to that ram, can you explain to me how this logically allows you to build? Like, they're just poking sticks at something
They're kind of fondling its cavities with the spears.
Yeah, I'm just going through airport security right now with this ram.
I think it makes sense. They fondle the cavities with their spears, and then there's ramming. I mean, it makes sense to me. I'm not going to over-explain it too much, but it kind of makes sense to me. I was wondering if this was going to be like a fake ram, showing it, and then being like psych and taking a second TC instead. But no, it's a real ram, and then second TC behind it. But PuppyPaw knows.
That TC got to die, all right? That greed ain't allowed. Look how many Spear and Horsemen are here to play. It's going to overwhelm PuppyPaw because he did go for a second TC. He's a little bit split. He doesn't have the same count right now. And remember, those extension TCs only have 2,400 HP, which means you only need 12 attacks from a ram, taking 5 seconds per attack. And he's definitely buying enough time for that to follow through.
How many seconds is that?
A lot. a minute.
Nice. But look, the math checks out. PuppyPaw had 2 villagers, 3 villagers on gold, and he has 3 knights. The magic upholds, even though he allocated more villagers on gold afterwards. This is a low unit count by PuppyPaw. A rare circumstance with Abbasid 1 basing against 2 base French, and he went for the town center. But good crisis management here by PuppyPaw. Using his TC to be a deflection of sorts, then distracting with his units, pulling back, losing not too much, not excessively much, killed the ram and has saved his units. Meanwhile, Knights here on the villager lines of Viper.
Yeah, while he's trying to build up the TC. Worst time impossible for Viper here. He gets the TC complete in the end, but Knights chip away and get some value there. And look at the ego difference now. 31 to 55. And the problem there, Grubby, you know what it was? Like Viper, this all-in ram play, it seems good, right? But we have to remember they did nerf the build speeds of Siege in the field. It takes him longer to get that ram up. And that's why he only had 1. It would have taken too long to get the second one online. But had he had 2, this TC would be a pile of rocks right now.
Did they really nerf ram building speed? I thought it was just traction trebuchet.
I think it got tweaked. I'm pretty sure, like, because I remember looking at the numbers.
I thought it was Springled, Mangonel, and traction trebuchet.
I think it got like slightly increased by 5 or 10 at least. Or was it? Actually, no. No, I remember that, like, at least the number that shows in the tooltip change. I remember that. You know what
I don't trust tooltips anymore. I've been hurt too many times.
Because it's so dumb because, like, it gives you a raw time, and it's like, if you add more people and the time doesn't change. But you know what the best part is? Biggest buff of that patch change, Grubby, do you know what it was?
What?
Siege Towers didn't have those change at all. Siege Towers are buffed, folks. Build Siege Towers.
Oh my god. So we're going to see more BMing?
You can do it so quickly now.
You know that feeling when you make a ram, you accidentally make a siege tower and you didn't mean to BM, but your opponent now thinks you're disrespecting them and the embarrassment just makes them leave the game? Feels bad.
I mean, my favorite one is when I'm like tuned into a pro player, he has it done to him, and then he spitefully goes and builds a landmark somewhere. Even if it was an accident, right? He's like, no, you BM'd me, so now I'm not leaving this game.
Siege Tower, a lot of magic there. Nice little counterattack by Viper, but think of the distance he has to make up in order to get back in the game here. And he's currently running an obstacle course. This equestrian team here has lost its way and is getting absolutely slammed here by PuppyPaw's defensive squad.
Oh my
Meanwhile,
God.
PuppyPaw sending Knights around. I mean, this game, it's almost an X game, KP.
Yeah, honestly, he's just kind of flopping dead a little bit at this stage. You can see he's just trying to catch up or at least keep in the same realm of existence as PuppyPaw right now on the eco side. But this is the difference. Horsemen compared to Knights. Horsemen can't really dive in and just pick a villager off free. Knights can. Once you get that Blacksmith, once you get that 1 damage upgrade, charge in, follow-up strike of 1 hit from the sword. It's a 2-hit kill to any villager that doesn't have textile. Speaking of villagers, looks like the Great Migration in the south is underway, and this is an area where Viper hasn't looked anytime recently.
Yeah, I've seen this before. I mean, we had a similar situation from, of course, from PuppyPaw as he tried to migrate his villagers all the time. A lot of map control here for PuppyPaw. Viper's special little strategy with Horseman Spear Flood didn't end up working, and well, PuppyPaw is looking to potentially come in with the... I'm trying to remember how to say this. Coup de grace, I think.
Coup de grace.
Yeah, the final strike.
Coup de grace.
Yeah, coup de grace. The final blow to the neck.
I'm trying to remember because I had this discussion. Like gras is like fat or something, I think. And grass.
G-R-A. I think I used to say coup de grace, but because of the little accents on the A and then the C-E, it's actually grass. You never know how many letters French are going to leave out of words, so that's the confusing part.
I don't know. Marine just going to be in chat, just like very judgmental of us right now for screwing this up.
Very shake my head. Yeah.
The worst part is I've casted in a game where that's literally a skill, so I should know. But I remember there was a discussion about this.
Was that Warzone as well?
No, that was
the game you're famous for.
Well, yes, true. I've earned more in Warzone than Dota 2, but looking to earn a lot more from Age of Empires for PuppyPaw. Now looking to even up the score with this push in. And that extension TC, big difference here compared to Viper's attempt. This town center not looking like it's going to be protected.
Yeah, 60 seconds, you said, for the other TC to have gone down to the Ram. I think it's going to be less than that here for PuppyPaw. He's using his units to go for it as well. Viper is trying to age up to Castle Age. He's going there. He's got gold, as that has been the most readily accessible resource. And if he has a market, he can trade a bit with gold and try to make things. But the thing is, even if you somehow squeeze out 6 barracks worth of men-at-arms, you pop out 6 men-at-arms the moment you reach Castle Age, that's not good enough against upgraded archers, against knights here. Those men-at-arms are going to have 4 to 5 armor. They're going to take some pretty decent shots from the archers. And those knights, they're tanky enough to hold the men-at-arms at bay that those are never going to get the jump on the archers. Nonetheless, that is what maybe has to be attempted here. Viper loves his crossbows, and he started to make a couple of those. But no men-at-arms yet. He's working on spears. What?
The mangoes are coming out. This could be big. Yeah. Remember, Mangonel's got buffed. This is the emphasis. We have to remember this. We never get to see it these days, but now the repair's coming out. The rush baits him in. The knights go down. Mangoes, remember, they only need 2 shots to get rid of these archers due to the buff damage up against range units. And he's keeping it alive, but it is sacrificing a villager count and a lot of troops in the meantime. But it looks like Viper is going to stabilize, and he might get away with his castle up with little to no true cost or burden upon his economy.
That's some pretty good dodging. I don't see PuppyPaw taking any shots. This test must have been taken in isolation, Killer Pigeon, against a very willing participant to take Mangonel shots to the face. I don't know about you, but PuppyPaw doesn't seem that willing, actually. And he knows how to micro against this Mangonel. Now, Mangonels have predictive fire. So if you last second change the direction you're walking at, it will spectacularly miss. I've counted 5 to 6 cavalcades of Mangonel rocks being fired. And maybe 1 to 3 archers have gone down.
Now, it's good that you point that out, actually, because PuppyPaw, and this isn't just, hey, we just saw it. Like, I've seen it time and time again. He's actually probably one of the most consistent dodgers, right? Like, we've been talking about PuppyPaw as this dark horse. Maybe he can come out and surprise people, make his way to Red Bull Wololo. Maybe he could be the chosen one, and he's showing you a different type of chosen one. He's showing you his Neo mode with these type of dodges that are going to be really frustrating, because right now, Viper, the way he wants to recover is off the back of the Mangonel play. And considering PuppyPaw is now up in Castle Age himself, what is the unit we see French now pivot into? It's almost always Arbaletiers, another unit that would be vulnerable to Mangonels.
Yeah, that's true. But you know, PuppyPaw is not going into that yet. He's getting his veteran knights. He's getting veteran archers as well, which is very veteran spearmen, which is interesting into crossbows. And they're kind of a good damage stoker, I suppose. But there are those Arbaletiers that you mentioned coming in now for PuppyPaw.
Oui, they are Sailor Magnifique in this situation. I believe he went up the guild hall, right? So this wasn't a Royal Institute play, which means he can't actually just juice them up to ridiculous degrees too quickly. But it does mean if this game goes hyper late, guild hall is going to be insane value in this matchup.
Yeah, that is true. And I think you need about 4 to 5 minutes to do something spectacular with Guildhall, like build a keep or almost build a keep. He's got it on food right now, either due to inattention or because it's actually kind of neat. I don't mind food too much. It remains a precious resource until you get to the super late game and you start ultra farming. So I've actually not minded it too much. It even can be conducive to go Imperial. We're at the 20-minute mark. He could go Imperial at like 26, 27 minutes with a nice release of food. Though it does feel like he'd be playing with his food if he aims for Imperial, don't you think, Killer Pigeon?
Yeah, you know, you got to eat it quickly. You're in one of those restaurants that's fancy. When the flies start coming around, they take it off the table. So don't play with your carcass here. Make sure you munch it down. And you see PuppyPaw right now. He's biting down onto the eco lines. But Viper, so far dodging it out and now going aggressive himself into that pocket eco area where PuppyPaw has been a very greedy boy. Barely any outputs to the area. The Great Migration as one knight will chase them away just before the main army can arrive.
You can probably just ignore that knight and just keep gathering resources. Feels even better.
Just don't even risk it. You're like, no, I've got the lead in the game. Like, think about the pressure right now, because, like, you know, Grubby, like, you've had decent earnings your time. I mean, obviously, I can't compare, but I've seen players who handle the pressure well. We don't necessarily, like, weigh in the pressure factor of PuppyPaw. This is a lot of money on the line. We've hyped this up appropriately, because if he wins this series, it is going to be him securing a slot to Red Bull Wololo Legacy. In fact, either of them winning this will get them a seat at the biggest land for Age of Empires 4. So this game could be super high pressure for PuppyPaw.
And it is a really big deal, but what's interesting, everyone's mentality works in different ways. For instance, some players really need to win the first map in order to have momentum. They get very discouraged and just play bad if they lose the first map. So they always bring their best strategy, their most stable strategy, their best civilization to the first game in a best of 5. I've seen Korean pro gamers in StarCraft say that they know if they win the first map, the game is over. And then oftentimes they go 4-0 in the grand finals and give a really bad grand final experience. But then there's other players that really come back well from defeat, because it kind of takes pressure off them. They see, okay, you know, I've been really pressured going into this. Now I have a loss. Maybe I lose the whole thing. Okay, if that's my baseline, then everything else is a bonus.
Yeah, I've seen teams that do that. Like, there's a classic statement for like Nigma and Dirt 2, like lower bracket is, you know, upper bracket is for beaches, right? Like we just don't need it. I said that in the more polite form, no cursing here. But they have a more cursy form, we would say that. But the fact is, like, some players, I think you're right, they don't necessarily get rubbed the wrong way by it. I think, keep in mind, someone gets see Legendary Beastie, he said himself, like, even if he thinks he's got a 1% chance to win a game, he'll stick to it, right? He actually doesn't get tilted as easily by the state of one game and the outcome of it. And the remarkable part to me about this game for PuppyPaw, I was expecting game 1 to matter a lot. I was expecting Deli to come out, for him to try and stomp, and I thought that was going to be important to his momentum. But look at him now. He loses game 1, and now he is full swing momentum in game 2. Wait, Puppy. the deer are creeping right now.
You say full swing momentum, but does he really have to attack with villagers? Okay. That makes more sense, doesn't it, KP?
Yeah, it was the deer. The deer would get out of the way. He's like, go! Okay, I'll make a barking noise to get you to move. They finally got out of the way. PuppyPaw, because of that, the keep is going to be too slow. He's going to get cleaned up with a crossbowman here. One Mangonel won't be enough to finish them off. And it looks like his keep is going to be a small boy incomplete keep at 80% progress.
I'm going to do something crazy if Viper ends up winning this game. I'm gonna watch a rerun of the Golden Girls. Like, for real. Like, I'm going to watch a full episode. Because I can't believe that Viper could do it from this point. He's stopping the keep. He's got to keep. What are you willing to jeopardize, Killer Pigeon?
Would you do anything for this keep? Well, I think you're getting out here. Oh, but maybe if you can even up that. I mean, the mangoes might actually allow him to get this up. In this situation, right, if it was me, I'd say, screw it. Pull 10 more villagers. Go. And here they are. They're going in for it. He wants that stake. He wants that staging point right outside of Viper's base, and it should be important. It should be pointed out how important this is, right? Because if you look just south of those keeps, there's a TC expansion that Viper made. He went up for another TC at the front of his base, and it's now exposed.
Yeah, I mean, establishing this beachhead for PuppyPaw is enormous. He now has a safe spot to fire at this keep with. He's going to take deer. He's building an outpost for additional vision as well as additional protection. He's running knights at the keep, which I guess is kind of okay. They're not going to take too much damage from it unless it is equipped with a sprinkled emplacement.
I mean, he was very intimidating. That one knight clearly got the GG out of Viper. He waves the white flag to the French, and now it evens up. It turns out that the only thing we can decipher 2 games in is that French is pretty damn good in this match.
They both came out swinging here, Killer Pigeon, using the French, which maybe they assume is their strongest chance to win. Both of them managed to bring that to a successful conclusion. Imagine if one of them didn't with that mindset. And now we're at a 1-1. French and Abbasid are out of the way, and the way is wide open for other options.
I would say this is a totally on start to the game, start to the series, because it means we're getting at least 2 more games. This one's going distance. I mean, I gotta be honest, Greg. Like coming to this, there was a bunch of people like they say, yeah, Viper, he's the GOAT, he's proved himself. PuppyPaw, we love him. Be a great Cinderella story, but he's totally gonna get 3 0'd. And after what I saw in game one, you can kind of understand where people's thought process is coming through. But this game two was a completely ginormous reset, right? All of a sudden, you see the potential PuppyPaw. Look how far ahead he was at multiple stages in this game. And Viper, it's kind of interesting actually, because I think the moment which really gave this game over and allowed PuppyPaw to accelerate was that ram attempt by Viper. And it felt like a very unorthodox move by a player that's usually seen as an exploitative type player looking to get greedy economical advantages.
Yeah, I think he did analyze that there is a kind of exploit to be made of a French player that goes low on knights. He saw the villager count on gold. He saw the 1 or 2 knights. He saw that he didn't lose much to the aggression, that it was half-hearted aggression. He smelled out the second town center coming out of PuppyPaw, and he thought there's a window there. Either he practiced this or he thought about it in his mind, and he tried to hit a window. It's a little out there. It's a little bit more unconventional, perhaps almost as unconventional as some of the post-Genesis games on Boulder Bay where people would pick English, like Luciferon would pick English, not like mirror matchups. So in that sense, maybe he's avoiding it out of a weakness, of a dislike, but I have to assume that at least he likes this matchup on this map in particular, Killer Pigeon.
Yeah, I think there's some merit to it. We just haven't seen it in a while, right? Like Delhi, one thing I loved that we saw a while back out of them was I say I love, I'm going to get some hate for saying I loved it, was the compound defender wall crawl with trebuchets and mangonels, right? Because springles can't shoot you with stone walls. You just keep building stone walls and moving forward towards your opponent's base, and they can never shoot you with springles. And that can actually be effective in this matchup because if you go hyper late game in that type of situation, what do the Roost like to rely upon in that late game in terms of siege? They have the springles with the banded arms. That feels really good. Doesn't feel really good if your opponent just keeps spamming walls and crawling towards your base.
I'm gonna play that style. I mean I like that too. You've reminded
It's
me how
actually vile.
fun it
It's
is to
so
annoy
vile.
the opponent.
I mean, to be honest, I'm one of those people like it's not just playing the game for me when I play, it's also playing the player. So like I'm one of the people who happily just use all chat, right? I'm a big fan of that type of stuff. I love to see the smack talk. So, you know, anything you can do in game that tilts your opponent. I feel like we're just setting up a tilt presentation, a tutorial at this point, Grubby. Like we went through siege towers already. Now we're into the wall crawl. What's up next?
John Cleese and Killer Pigeon on how to annoy people.
I can
I
get on
don't know
board
if
with
you've
that.
seen that before, but I can see your face on that. Well, let's reel this back in a bit and see what's going on in the game right now. Of course, the Viper's going for wheelbarrow. It's free. He needs the mill. And he's got his double scout opening to deny deer. He's found the 2 deer camps. He's killing wolves and deer and whatnot and all that good stuff. PuppyPaw, he's sitting on 4 scouts right now. And I saw the Beastie Cuties build order. He said 2 scouts to begin with. If you get better, you take 3. 3 should be a minimum that you should hope to go towards. 4 if you're really good at multitasking. So PuppyPaw would probably get the sign of approval from Beastie Cutie for running with 4 scouts here. And who knows, it may even be more. But 4 scouts is going to do a lot of map control to get the bounty. He's just reached 250. He quickly slaughtered all the sheep that came back, so bam, tier 2 food mining economy bonus obtained, and that would just leave the 2 deer to get to the 500 mark. That's not even counting the other sheep and deer and wolves that may still be out there.
Yeah, one thing I really love about the Roost is like it's quite deceptive when you start playing the game. Like you obsess on this bounty system, you obsess over the tiers, right? Like better gathering rate, better generation hunter cabins. But like if you actually just think about it even more simpler, 285 free gold in your economy is a lot in the early game. It gives you a lot of flexibility, a lot of options. That's why actually I'd say the Roost is the #1 civ that we never see building mining camps because they don't need it.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy. Like, yeah, I've played 40-minute games with Roos never making a mining camp for gold. Which is crazy.
It's just absurd to say out loud, right? Like, you know, some people will go with trying to like, oh yeah, taxation. But like, then you've just got the Roost like, I just hunt and then I have Golden Gate, which like, I will stand by. I've said it since basically day one. I think Golden Gate is the #1 tier 2 landmark in the game. There's nothing that compares.
Now I have to think about all the others, but I'm just gonna let that stand and say maybe it's true.
You can come
It
back
might
to
be.
it. Like I've been through this with a few other casts as well, because like it's really good instantly straight away because it opens up options, right? It gives you the flexibility to do things like TC Boom, which is hidden info because you don't have to get a mining camp. It allows you to inflate your resources. It also allows you to use your inflated wood income to convert into gold. We already mentioned you don't need to build the mining camp. You save resources there. You also save splitting up your villager force. On top of that, think about late game. When you get hyper late game and like all the resources are gone, you're like, I've got to do trading now. Oh no, I get 20 gold for 100 wood. That's a really bad trade. Wait a second, let me check my golden gate with 10 supplies available, and I
Yeah,
can get
well,
150 for 100 of each. What?
well, that's kind of bad macro, and the tickets are limited, right? Like, yeah, it's good, but I feel like it actually drops off a bit late game. I'm not really thinking of the 10 ticket situation. I'm thinking of how cheap it is to build a second town center. You're spending 200 gold. Other civs spend 517 gold or something to
Yep.
buy 300 stone. So that's a 300 plus resource difference to buy stone if you want to buy stone rather than gathering it. That's pretty crazy. Now, look at this. Immediate tower response. The boar gotten by PuppyPaw. And this is pretty common to go with a tower response. It's the logical thing to do. It's much quicker at denying gathering on the board than something like, oh my god, that's a lot of villagers. She wants to make sure that he gets it up on time.
I mean, like, it's crazy as well that he's that obsessed about it, because even if you just build it afterwards, as long as you just garrison, like, he can't garrison the board now, right? Because you see it and he's going to be in range. So maybe a little bit of an over-calibration there out of Viper.
I think he had to build it that fast. Otherwise, the wooden fortress will end up killing the villagers gathering it.
That's true. You maybe get 1 or 2. I think it's like there's maybe a 4 or 5 second difference in build speed, though, because like outposts take 45, and if I recall correctly, wooden fortresses is 50.
If he had built that with even just 4 villagers instead of 5, he would have lost 2 villagers right there before he finished. Where's the boar actually?
The boar, he's actually snugly hidden. I believe it is. Is it north of the wooden fortress, or is it right there? Like, so it's north of the wooden fortress. It's gotta be.
Yeah, it's right to the left of the wooden fortress right now, I think. Well, we're gonna see it soon.
What the?
Okay. What we thought was a boar was not. But the thing is, this tower is in range for the Viper. So his Delhi tower is completely denying this, which is exactly what he wanted. So that's amazing. Those 6 villagers came here all the way across the map to gain 75 gold, maybe a future tier 3 gathering bonus for the tier 3. Then they went to make a hunting cabin, which, it will generate like, what, 15 gold per minute? It's like decent, but not really worth going all the way there. They spent 275 wood. Maybe he went arrow emplacements on the wooden fortress, and he didn't get a single piece of food from that boar. That's sufficient for Viper.
And you can say, oh, he got 75 gold. Yeah, but like, come on, you don't pull that many villagers to get 75 gold. Also, keep in mind the investment on each side. Like, you mentioned the 100 cabins slowly get paid back, but it cost 100 wood initially. Let's also compare the outpost, the defense cost. Viper only spent 100 wood. PuppyPaw spent 175 wood, and it now just sits there doing nothing. And
the hunting cabin too.
Exactly. Like, it's 275 wood versus 100 wood investment.
And the walking time, the lost gathering time that PuppyPaw sustained is much greater. And for some reason, he's leaving his 3 scouts inside to have more arrow fire. It's gonna take the time needed for the wooden fortress to kill the outpost from 19 minutes to like 7 minutes or something.
Hey, no, this is what we call patient vengeance right here, Grubby, right? 5 minutes from now, he's gonna be on that boar, and that tower is gonna be on fire.
Yeah, and that 2,000 food is going to save PuppyPaw. He's going to go for deer instead. Still very respectable. I think he should make it right snug up against the wood next to the left side to deer. Yeah, this is good. Okay, he goes for central wood. Maybe he gets like 3 gold per minute less, but now he has a very centralized wood drop-off location. Let's take stock of both of the players' bases. We focused a lot on the little skirmishes, but let's get an overview perhaps of their base and kind of analyze what we're seeing. We're seeing stables for knights. We've seen several of those. Archery range. Right now there's 3 knights, 2 archers. No space for farming around the town center. Really just going for a compact base that protects villagers most of all. Some knight harass. And then if we look at Viper space, marketplace. Really interesting early marketplace. Perhaps in anticipation of future sanctity research, giving him sacred sites, and then wanted to turn that gold into other things. Or maybe he had to do some sorting of some misallocation of resources early. I find that an early marketplace, and it's interesting. For the rest, he's on Horseman and Spearman.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if he actually needed to get his hands on a little something for that outpost, right? So maybe that's why the marketplace went down. Because it looks like that has got an arrow slits upgrade, right? Did he place a mining camp on stone?
No. Maybe I think you're right. Maybe he just bought 100 stone, but does he have
But
two?
then where's the rest of it been spent?
Maybe he has 2 outposts, one on the mill. Yeah.
There it is.
That's it then. So he spent 170 gold to buy 100 wood, and he spent 100 wood for the market, so 270 resources, plus the arrow slits. So yeah, he spent over 300 resources to get those double outslit emplacements, and I think that's worth it. It's needed.
It denies PuppyPaw's strategy, right? Now PuppyPaw is kind of in a reactionary state, and you see now Viper also utilizing Horseman. Fantastic tool for the deli. You're easily able to afford them off the power of berries in the early game, and once you actually get them out in the field, like, it's very hard for PuppyPaw to answer this, because what is he going to push? It's going to be knights and archers, and unless he wants to guard the archers of those knights, which is not really the full extent of why you build knights, it's going to leave this giant vulnerability patch in your formation.
That little delay probably gained PuppyPaw about, what? Like, how much of a delay was that? 20 seconds? If that?
So he delayed, like, what, 50 gold? And then the unit that cost 240 resources is now limping home with barely any health.
Exactly. So I think he took a really good habit of scout circling delay against small armies, and he applied it with a very expensive unit against a larger army, where it's more like just being cute, but it doesn't actually achieve an economic purpose. Unless he sees the knights as throwaways now, and he's moving off them. But I don't think he is. He's still making them. So probably not worth it if we're being pedantic, but still kind of cute, just because you're messing with your opponent and taxing their APM as well.
I think you just need to move up now. Like, you just need to tech up. Like, there's no point hanging around fuel anymore. Actually, it looks like that's what PuppyPaw is now doing. It makes a lot of sense in this situation. Like, this is to give it like a craft reference. Like, this is kind of the Zerg factor. This is the power of the deli, right? Just get loads of cheap crap and throw it at your enemy. And PuppyPaw can't compete with that anymore, because the thing that makes this doubly annoying is all this cheap crap will inevitably trade well with the knights, because even when you get them low, the horsemen will run away, and the scholars will just pat their heads until they're full health again. And speaking of those horsemen, they've just given a freebie there. PuppyPaw throwing away the archers and the knights to try and buy time, but I don't even necessarily think you need to buy this time.
Yeah, what was PuppyPaw thinking? He wants to defend that wooden fortress, bought just a few extra seconds, but loses a lot of health on his knights. A good 5 to 6 archers or so. And now he's down to 3 archers. Sure, he's gonna reach Castle Age. Then what is he gonna do? Not upgrade to veteran archers anymore, I don't think. Probably just investing in units that straight up have their advantage, like horse archers, maybe veteran knights seems kind of worth it right now. You could go for crossbows. There we go. Horse archers and warrior monks in production.
Yeah, the standardized build. Wow, it feels like we've come so far with the Roos. They've evolved so much. Wait, no, they haven't. They've been doing this for months. They just keep
I was just thinking,
it.
like, this is the only time I was good with Roos, is when I could just make one unit, no mining camp, and don't think about army comp.
Hey man, Grubby, it's time to get the notebook out. This might be the time to hop into Red Bull Wololo Legacy qualifiers.
Okay.
I mean, if this is the build, you're gonna make it.
Just play like PuppyPaw, go for the boar, and then get it denied and move back. And no, of course, Viper is inflicting this pain on PuppyPaw. Marine Lord's Roos stats looked actually kind of sick. Was that like 19-1, 17-1?
Yep.
That's disgusting.
He was 91% win rate with the 94% fire, I think it was, with the
94,
and then 91% with the French.
Yeah, not bad, to be honest. He's pretty good. Which is why we'll see him in the grand finals after this bronze match. But these guys are pretty good too. In this 1-1 score, Viper himself is aging up to castle right now. He's got 8 spears, 7 scholars, and 10 spears actually, and 7 scholars and 8 horsemen. There's one knight protecting those deer. I love that. And it's only possible if you don't abuse the all-army hotkey. Putting a knight somewhere as a guard. And then, you know, people that if you use the all-army hotkey, your scout is walking into the enemy main TC, all your guards are going away. Actually, in this case, it would have been good because it died.
Yeah, but now, someone I actually want to highlight here, by the way. We said the Viper just made his way up into Castle Age. Can we just point out that this wasn't really through much Sacred Site control? This is a very different deli build. Like, he didn't rely upon Sacred Sites to get him there.
And you think he just... Oh, hold that up. certain version. You think he just decided to go with a plan B because he's against a Civ that has early nights? He's just like, yeah, I know this is probably not gonna usually work.
Yeah, I think the threat of like a wooden fortress being on the sacred sites already is a problem. Like that's the thing. Like if you think about where that wooden fortress that got denied was, it was still next to a sacred site, right? So Viper couldn't easily access the central sacred site and had to pivot his plan. And this is where he's strongest, right? This is one of his biggest upsides that we talked about. He's one of the best reactionary players in the game. He sees something, he instantly reacts to it and tries to get a one-up. And it seems to have served him really well right now.
I like Viper's no sacred site deli more than his no second TC opposite.
I mean, it didn't really set a high stat. I think the thing you didn't like as much in that is the melee ram rush. It was the bigger problem with that one. You know what? He couldn't do it in this game because it takes too long to research siege engineering this early on. There you go.
Yeah.
Deli save.
Horse archers actually lose to spears when unmicroed. Some pretty painful losses there. Now, they are cheap, of course, and there's many things going on here. He's moving in with horse archers. He knows about these villagers. They're starting to run for their miserable lives.
He can cut them off. He can go north. Go north right now. No, PuppyPaw. They get away.
He's like, you mean northeast, Killer Pigeon?
No, just direct north. Just plow it, sir. Don't even fit. Wait, northeast. You want to go into the T? Go north or northwest, Grubby.
Go to 3 o'clock, 2 o'clock.
Oh, okay.
Like, when?
Right, slightly more right. I don't. God, directions.
Starboard. Right this instant. Do not speed ahead. Go for the elephant.
Don't stop until you headbutted something. That's pretty much my standard of running here. And the only thing he's doing is running away because the elephant comes out. And, well, if I know anything about the animal kingdom, it's that the natural predator of the horse is the elephant.
Yeah, that's true. I don't think they're not afraid of camels even. I think that says enough. Camels are pretty scary. Now, a long time ago, when I was watching Viper play, he was discovering the deli, which was deleted. It was a bad Civ, and he was making moss elephants, and it didn't really seem like his heart was into exploring the ins and outs of the Civ yet. He was more just having fun, and he just started spamming moss elephants, and I thought that was kind of a meme. And then, as we saw yesterday, it turns out it's not. It's not a meme.
No, that's basically just LA.
Yeah, yesterday's troll strategies are today's unfair, unbreakable meta. But let's see if we can get enough elephants, actually, and also enough mobility, and especially center map control. Just like in a game of chess, controlling the center 4 squares is the most important. It gives you access to that sacred site. It gives you the shortest distance to walk anywhere else on the map. And it provides a direct line of attack and threat on your opponent. Now let's talk a little bit about Viper's weaknesses. Even these small little walls at the deer camp on the left side that people normally do religiously, he doesn't do them. Like, he doesn't always cross all his T's, dot all of his I's, and a small little wall here could have prevented this quite a bit.
Yeah, another issue that he's got in this matchup is you're reaching a point where you transition to farms, right? Farms seems like an ability. The cool thing about going horse archers, especially on a map like Highview, you get close enough to this farmland area and then you flood through. You're fast enough to just pepper enemies down. Compared to someone like French cavalry, you're not as well armored to dive the TC, but you're able to actually take out villages quicker because you're a ranged unit. And that's where these horse archers are so effective in Highview, is because of that ambush factor in conjunction with the way that people spread their eco out around the 20 to 25 minute.
Yeah, that's true. And that's why, like, when horse archers got nerfed, I thought we'll still see a bunch of them, just like a strike force of 10 going around while going into other army camps. But it looks like he is holding the horse archer button once again. He's at 26 and more PuppyPaw. And, you know, it kind of makes sense. You're going to lose some now and then. Farm location here looking pretty interesting. He thought the compound of the defender is a drop-off point. It's not, but still good to get into farming early. Very important. The earlier you can, the less problem you have in sorting your macro. But continuing to do really nice villager harassment is PuppyPaw. And how many town centers do they both have? Is it just one?
It's one TC each. Yeah, it's one TC each. But if we can just go back to that Dome of Faith and House of Learning layout, like, this House of Learning has taught Viper one thing, as Grubby just pointed out, is that you can't drop food off at it. Like, it's just,
oh yeah, it's House of Learning, not compound.
but like, he actually wrapped around. Like, he clicked once and just didn't stop.
Yeah, I mean, he had no more space around his town center, so
Yeah, and he's
whatever,
up
I
against
guess.
the horse archers we talked about, right? And that's kind of like that's the thing. I think this is more PuppyPaw forcing him to make these really uncomfortable like infrastructure choices because he has this dive force of horse archers.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Finally, we're starting to see some walls, much more forward than the back little wall. We have double sacred site for the Viper, and while we lost some villagers, we may have not caught every single villager death this game. For if we look at PuppyPaw's villager count, there must have been counter harass as well by horsemen, by spearmen, or whatever. Now the keep is being forced up here. Keeps take 50% more damage while being built, but they're still tanky enough to resist this paltry force.
Yeah, you have to hit them first, and now the scholars are just being ditched. 2 elephants showing up is not going to be fearful enough. PuppyPaw doesn't care. You have to be really careful now because you just saw it there, the golden illuminating factor. Like, warrior monks can turn this horse archer army into a threat for the elephants in the blink of an eye, and we have to remember the warrior monks' range did get buffed, so it's much easier for them to move in and get that one stab out. And another thing that a lot of players have been doing now with the Rus is they've been getting those unique researches they get access to via the Abbot Trini. One most notable of them is the increased duration one.
Yeah, it takes it from what to what, like 10 seconds to 20 or something?
I
Or...
think it's like 10 to 20 or 10 to 30. It's quite the buff, and then you get it in conjunction with the range increase, because the range increase is ridiculous. Like, one warrior monk can buff like 50 horse archers quite easily.
Yeah, pretty crazy. And it's kind of like a good version of the old camel upgrade, camel support, which gives like 1 armor to infantry, but like this is to everything. So ideally, can't you get a mangonel buff with a horse, with a warrior monk if it's near enough?
I think you can.
Maybe.
I'm trying to remember now. The
I've
problem is
never
we
had them
rarely ever see it
close
because
enough.
like when people are running warrior monks, they're running horse archers, right? Like,
Yeah.
so you're a very slow mover if your mangonel's able. Like, if you selected them all to move together, buddy, that's not how you play cavalry lineups.
Yeah, usually not, because they get slowed down and whatnot. Viper, of course, by virtue of being Delhi, has double economy upgrade in every category. Additionally, he's not going to want to go Imperial, as the only 2 good things that Delhi gets out of Imperial are hand cannons and bombers. Everything else is an afterthought. Like, yeah, we know some of you play 4-on-4 and Delhi Imperial is amazing because you save a lot of money, but the timings are too clean, too sharp to wait for the something like 58 minutes to get all your Imperial upgrades. And why would you wait 58 minutes for elite archers when you can just make hand cannons, which kill everything and not just spearmen? Lovely farming economy for PuppyPaw. I'm feeling good about his chances in this game, even though he's up against Castle Age, Viper, Delhi, with elephants, mangonels, and trebs. His food economy is being managed well, and that's an important transition for Rus players because they tend to go so heavily on the Gaia, the food from animals and whatnot, that they forgot what it's like to run a vegetarian diet from the fields. He's got really nice farming, and that's going to help him. His food income per minute right now is kind of low. His economy upgrades have been weak so far, weaker because they're not free. And it's pretty much run its course of him doing horse archer run-bys. That worked for a bit, and now it doesn't. And it seems like the Viper even has a second TC because he's catching up in villager count. So PuppyPaw kind of is on the timer.
Yeah, and what he's been getting away with so far is the fact that the Viper's been pushing a static force of elephants. You can't actually raid in the back the same way that PuppyPaw did. That's starting to change when you start to restrict like this. Like, he's creating a perimeter, right, around the base of PuppyPaw. He'll get opportunities to start raiding in, but still raiding in the meantime is PuppyPaw breaks out a bunch of horse archers, finds the greedy berry boys, and punishes them to the maximum. Only 2 are going to walk away successfully. In the meantime, Viper, these horsemen, they were raiding for a long time. They flanked around that backside about 30 seconds ago and went unanswered that entire time.
I thought the horse archer harass was over, but it's not. Oh, relic steal, yoink.
You don't need this anymore. You're not going to be in this game much longer, says Viper. Just runs off with the goodies. Elephants will cover the escape.
Taking this back for our followers to gawk at and give us some tithe.
I think that was like honestly, that was kind of like an extraction mission right there. It's like package secure, pull back. All the elephants just turn around and run away. And PuppyPaw's like, wait, are we not fighting today? No, buddy, we just want your goodies.
He got one mangonel shot on the scholar, but it got away. And they're fast. He's bringing it back to the homeland for admiration and impressing the followers and keeping the religion going strong. You go, Viper. It's running back.
Can we just highlight how quickly he's moving?
Yeah.
I just like honestly, it's kind of funny when you think of most of the civilizations and you think about like the religious units, like oh yeah, kind of old men in the scholarly role and like religion, and then there's just the Delhi. And I feel like, in comparison, the others like middle-aged or old men, these guys are like Giga Chads, 25 years max. They don't skip leg day or arm day. They seem to run around at 1.5 movement speed, carrying a relic, and have 130 health every game. Like,
it reminds me of my neighbor. They're like octogenarians, but that guy is like running. I'm like thinking about how my bones are like kind of like, yeah, not so flexible anymore. It's like raining outside and he's running and he's got his spandex jogging pants on and going for a
and it's like he's wearing
run.
nothing at all.
What's that?
And it's like he's wearing nothing at all.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like it's a winter day, it's raining.
Flanders, right?
It's the Netherlands, he's used to it and he's just going for like a quick 1 hour jog in the morning. Like, jeez, man.
And he gives you all these lectures like, yeah, it's just about working your core. You just gotta kind of begin there and work. I don't care, all right? I just want more energy drink, a dark basement, and my PC for 24 hours. Leave me alone.
But look at this attack here coming in from the Viper. Like, yeah, his villager count dropped now and then, but he's got the double TC safety net. Elephants are leading the charge. One of these farms.
Line formation.
What is this formation? It's like, are you really afraid of these elephants? Ah! No!
Oh no, there's
elephants!
He grabs one. He actually snatches one straight away, but he manages to lay him out. Like, but gets him away.
Out.
He's regrouping. I don't know how that worked. Apparently, these spears aren't very sharp.
Ah, he squeezed out of that warm spear embrace there as PuppyPaw loses one of his 4 major farming fields. That's going to take a penalty on his economy. Meanwhile, though, we didn't say it literally. PuppyPaw squeezed his way to Imperial Age. He squeezed his way there to Imperial. And what is he working on right now? Streltsy. Is he upgrading his horse archers? No. Spearman Elite? No. We're working with a very small gold economy right now. PuppyPaw is not in the Imperial Golden Age where you're getting everything and you're just rolling your face on the keyboard, getting all those upgrades. No, he is consolidating his forces against an oppressive, economically oppressive Viper, in-your-face Viper, and just trying to get Streltsies. The firepower of the Streltsies are his answer to deal with these these tower elephants.
And the weird part to me is Viper, like, he could actually bolster himself long-term if he starts building keeps. I'm kind of surprised. He's almost got 2,000 stone now. Hasn't dropped a single keep. Village Fortresses is a big part of daily play.
You just cursed him to build a keep? He's like, oh,
he's like, oh, yep, thanks, KP.
You think he has Village Fortresses, right? It's become meta.
He has, like, he won't have it now, because I don't think, like, did he build one keep before this? I can't remember if he saw
that's a
one.
good
I don't
question.
think he did. Like, he hasn't built a single keep. I never saw one, so that's the weird part to me is he had all this stone. I thought he was going to instantly drop one on the Central Sacred Site and start researching it. Only takes about 5 minutes, and for those who don't know how Village Fortresses works, once you have it, all of your keeps function like TCs as well. You can build villages out of them, they're drop-off points. They are remarkable, and it allows the Delhi to boom hard in Castle without having to build additional TCs. But he will have to build additional military force here. The flood through up against a rock and a hard place. That's the edge of the map. And the push through of Spearmen are going to start to overwhelm you here. The follow-up horse archers as well starting to target down any reinforcements coming through. And several elephants should be going down from this.
The question is, was this an intentional throwaway tower elephant play? Because he's like, you're going to have Streltsy anyway, so these are obsolete units. We are not interested in these creatures anymore. I don't feel like it was. I feel like this was a relevant attack. Like, he doesn't really have that bandwidth to play around with them that way, right?
Yeah, I think like when you play Delhi at this stage with the strategy, it is simply about elephants, right? Elephants are the core backbone of everything you're going to do. But as we just noticed, like barely any casualties because they're stupidly strong. They're stupidly tanky, but now the natural predator of the elephant is on the battlefield. The bombards are in play. Run! Resistance is futile, elephants. Go home. Hide, because the cannons are coming.
Yeah, this is just a big anachronistic counter time where someone is still mounting people on elephants and fletching bows, and the others got literal cannonballs cascading out with gunpowder out of these infernal war machines. Elephants are running away. The wall is not finished, so they're going to be able to get away. A couple of spears being thrown away to distract the elephants. Are those scouts? Is he using scouts or no? Those are horsemen.
No, there's a horseman. There's a pretty little horseman. But this ain't looking so pretty because the spear's going to come out. Bombard gets one more shot, but will be brought down. And it looks like he is regrouping right now. Notice the PuppyPaw hasn't pulled out that many Streltsy yet. Just 7 on the front line, and it looks less like they've got elephant guns and more like they've just got little pew-pew sticks here. And
the single elephant!
The raid power!
Elephant harass is just 1 unit, but it hits with the power of more than 4 knights. It costs more than 4 knights, so that's so funny. And you know, elephants need a huge response. Let's say a counter ratio response. I'm kind of struggling with the words here. They need an overreaction.
They need overwhelming firepower back in their face to get rid of, because he's just going to sit there now. Like, he doesn't have to worry about 2 spearmen coming out. I mean, the best way to kind of summarize elephant raids into your eco lines, especially when they're as free as this, it's like taking a falcon punch to the balls. It doesn't feel good, and you can't do anything about it without investing a lot of military force.
I'm trying to imagine how a falcon punch to the balls would feel, and I know
I wouldn't. I don't think
but I don't know what a falcon
really
punch is, so I don't know how much I would hate it. But I would imagine.
I want to help you. I want to show you, but you're too nice to a guy. I can't do that to you.
All right, I'll try to avoid any kind of punches then, in this case. But that PuppyPaw, look at his food per minute. Food per minute statistic in the overlay is at 40 per minute, and this is a summary. In fact, it is not a summary, it's not an average, it's the exact amount of food you gathered in the last 60 seconds. That's what that overlay actually does. It's not a predictor of current gathering rate, it's how much you gathered in the last minute. He was down to 9 food. He was completely denied on food, and this elephant that was actually hiding in his natural habitat, the forest, is coming back once again.
He's coming again, and on 2 sides as well, so he has to choose which way do you go here. And he hasn't even noticed just yet. He's ignoring
like
it.
Animals stuck in the middle of the road. He doesn't know whether he should cross or go back. He's already committed. The army is standing in the middle. There's elephants everywhere, and he's choosing to do nothing. But even choosing to do nothing is a choice, PuppyPaw.
I tell you, Grubby, like right now, what's happened here? All these years, people chose to hunt the elephants. They enjoyed their tusks. Well, guess what happened? Turns out the elephants, they got a taste of human blood. And you know what? They like human blood now. And they keep coming for it. And look at this dive. He even yoinks the relics.
Waiting for your cannibal reference, and there it is. Mess with the bull, you get the trunk.
And they're just the tank to cover the escape. Operation Extract the Relics 2.0 is a success. Viper now in possession of all 5 relics in this game.
After this game, Relic will have the questionnaire, the developer questionnaire, to make you feel like you're being listened to as a gamer. How much fun did you have in this game? Sad face, ambivalent face, neutral, slight smile, and beaming smile. And I think he's gonna have the beaming smile as much as those relics are beaming to the sky, because he has stolen another 3. A grand heist, grand larceny here, as he will go up to 5 relics. PuppyPaw's food economy was shattered. I don't think those farms are being fully manned. He's got a second town center, but his food is unable to keep up, and therefore he cannot keep up Streltsy production. We have an extended Imperial against Castle Age. Normally, a fantastic situation for Imperial, but you need money to make things.
I'm telling you, right, on that feedback form you just described, like PuppyPaw's response, like they've just saved, where he slammed his head against the keyboard out of frustration. Like, this is not fun to play against. Like you highlighted, he's an Imperial for a long time. He should be bolstered, but look at his eco count. That's the problem. He can't afford all these rich, beautiful things that you should be able to get. And we know how this works, right? When you rush Imperial, like, the next goal is to reach pop cap so that you do have an advantage. But notice that he's never been able to come anywhere near pop cap. He's never had a need for more than 140 pop cap worth of housing in this game.
Now, having said that, we're kind of painting this in that this could be GG soon for PuppyPaw, but he's back up to 900 per minute in food. He's got 3 bombards, only 4 Streltsies, but he's got 3 bombards, 4 bombards now. How is Viper going to take care of those bombards? Put yourself in Viper's shoes for a minute. It seems like you've got the guy on the ropes for some time already, and you're everywhere. Your elephants are moving around like ballerinas with far too much grace that is belying their rather large stature, harassing here and there. But bombard count is growing. What is your plan to deal with them? Are you going to make horsemen? Are you going to make springles? Actually, he's got both. He's making both. Okay, that kind of helps.
I like how we went through all this whole process. Like, but let's not act like this is GG. Let's not act like this is done. We go through this story, Grubby. We come in. And how is he going to deal with these Oh, he's building the counter bomb bot.
Yeah,
Okay.
he's got everything he needs.
Back to the drawing board here.
But what if? What if they miss?
What if he doesn't notice that he's being sniped out right here? The bombards have to retreat. The Skrill's are chasing, and now look at the damage coming in. So many what ifs, but we're not a Disney series. We're Age of Empires, and Viper's turned this into a series as he's now 2-1 over PuppyPaw.
Delhi forever Castle Age with his elephants, with his horsemen, with his springalds now as well. He's managed to crack relics. PuppyPaw. Yeah, the stolen relics. The stolen relics. The second town center that Viper made, when he made it, very well timed. Good control on the elephants, nice spreading on the elephants, hitting where it hurt, coming in from the back, coming in at the bottom of the map. Resource nodes that are often forgotten or ignored are only attacked by agile, fast-moving units. Not this time. Viper had elephants everywhere. And when he had elephants everywhere, he would even bring scholars with them. An elephant scholar group to the right, elephant scholar group to the left. It was hard to deal with. And he managed to break PuppyPaw when it mattered. Had he given even an inch more, even a minute more, Streltsy and Bombard numbers would have been out of control. And remember that wooden wall that the elephants escaped via? That wooden wall was nearly done. Just 30 seconds of reprieve and maybe PuppyPaw would have walled everything up, gotten enough Imperial Age tech, and turned this around. He was ahead at some point in villager count, map control, relics, army count. Viper turned it around. Very well done. And they're now at match point where a single more map victory for the Viper qualifies him for the biggest Age of Empires 4 tournament that we have ever seen. Make it sound like the game is like 10 years old. It's 6 months old, but still, it's insane. $300,000 in prize money. Gift subs that we've already gotten. If you've got a Prime lying around, don't hesitate to spend it here. As we go into game number 4 of PuppyPaw versus the Viper.
And this should be a hype one. Here on Altai, PuppyPaw had that famous game against Marine Lord the other week on this specific map. It was Delhi versus Chinese, and it was an interesting pick. PuppyPaw showed a lot of potential, was picked at the post at the end of that one, but now he comes back against a Civ that can be just as aggressive, if not more so than Chinese, on Altai, especially with a good ball placement, which when I'm looking on the map, Viper has options for those type of proxy-based placements, right? Both balls on Altai here are situated in the central area.
All right, pretty fair placement. Either player could go for any. This is a particularly valuable area, as that boar is actually a witness to the deer slaughter that took place just next to it. So,
how does that work? Does it just like look away and say, "Didn't see nothing, nothing happened. Don't come back in 5 minutes and do the same thing to me, please, thank you."
But if you don't protect the boar, the deer boar, who's gonna come for you when it's your turn? Sheep? No, because you turned your eyes the other way.
The wolves? No, they're idiots. They follow me under town centers. Keep in mind, Boar, I'm going to be here in a few minutes because we have to remember, like, the Roosts have a lot of branch points when they go for this ball play, and it's something PuppyPaw's going to have to be aware of. There's the 4.5-minute pull time, there's the 6.5-minute pull time, and sometimes we see a few players that delay it until the 8-minute mark. So PuppyPaw's going to want to keep an eye on that. I've seen a few. It's wacky. Like, it's wacky. Don't do it against aggressive civs, though, folks. If you want the 8-minute timing, 1, why? 2, don't do it against aggressive civs like the Delhi.
Well, I tried to go for Boras Chinese a week ago, and I met the boar pulling bait tactic by a Roost player. That was a short game.
Oh, no. I should point out, that's something that Viper is phenomenal at. I've seen him do this to anyone who wants to utilize the ball, more so than almost any other player. The only other one that does it so frequently is Marine Lord. They see you going for the ball, and they just keep poking and prodding it to either make sure you can't actually snipe it down or to force aggression onto you. And it can change games, folks. Like, if you check the stats of this ball, not only is it incredibly resilient to damage, but it dishes out a lot of damage as well.
Yeah, exactly. And it always, if you're curious about its behavior, it has a maximum leashing distance. If you pull it outside of it, it insta-heals to full. If you don't pull it outside of it, it keeps attacking once it has been attacked, and it attacks the thing that is nearest it, even if that may be the person next to you.
Yeah, because it used to be that it would aggro the target that attacked it first, it would stick to it. That led itself to some interesting tactics where a Roost player would, for example, use a scout to bait it, and then a knight would stand there and you'd run circles around like it was Benny Hillsing as it died. Stupid pause. But, you know, Pumbaa gained a brain in the sequel, right? Now he understands, I will attack the closest thing to me. I don't care who owns it.
Very interesting sheep comparison here. Viper only has 8 sheep right now, including the ones he has already consumed. And if we can get a look again at PuppyPaw's sheep count, it was a lot. And he doesn't even need it, but it's a zero-sum game, and eventually he will need it. He's got a sheep count of 13 right now, 11 alive, 2 dead. Maybe there was a sheep on the high range somewhere on the right side that did follow as well. I think maybe almost all sheep have been found. So PuppyPaw with more sheep despite being Delhi and having only 2 scouts against 3. Good job to him. And big thanks for the gift subs there, Vigo LV. Keep it coming, guys. Nice hype train. Thank you so much. I'm sure EGC will be very happy to see that kind of support keep coming in. Now, PuppyPaw, what is he doing? We saw the Viper with Delhi barely going for Sacred Sites and going to Castle Age practically without it. That's a little bit into the future. We're not quite there yet. As for PuppyPaw with Roos, he went for Knight Archer, Pressure Play, Wooden Fortress, Central Play. But there are other ways to play Roos. Sometimes it's Knight Archers, other times it's straight up Castle Rush.
Nah, the only way to play Roost that I hear is boards, okay? Because it's not a board to watch. You always get that proxy base, you always get that aggression. As expected, the 4.5-minute pull, as is typical, just before you complete the Golden Gate, you shift out. Has been scouted by PuppyPaw, but he's going to struggle to do anything about this. He can at least try to be a frustration and maybe mix in some aggression on the board so they don't get optimal placement. It's going to be tough. The best thing you can try to do is maybe yoink it here.
He's hitting the scout that's getting hit, so that's obviously a weak target. But it was nicely pulled back by the Viper. Good, nice try by PuppyPaw.
Because he got right on top of it, he couldn't pull it away at all. But one villager might be going down here. The shift around. Oh, he gets it just on the final strike there, just in time before he would have had to pull back on the scout. But still valuable here, right? That's a good hunting cabin. The Wooden Fortress holds the entire area. And he did get the snipe on the board, so he did get the 75 gold bounty. Very close to being able to crack that tier 3 if you can find an additional wolf.
Boar visibly disappeared when the Wooden Fortress got built that closely. I don't see it anymore. I saw it disappear with my very own eyes when the Wooden Fortress got built, but it does still exist. That's good for the Viper.
I just love how it's kind of like they just covered it in dirt and said we'll come back for this later, right? Like, we had it even worse if you remember on Highview. On Highview, like, that board genuinely full-on disappeared with a combination of shrubbery. Kind of a weird interaction.
Like, it was actually gone, is it? It was actually gone?
Well, it looked like it was gone. Like, I think there was a tiny
hump.
Oh,
okay. Yeah. Just now. I thought you were talking about a previous cast where it actually got deleted.
No. It was still there. It was just, like, hard to see.
Right.
I think there was, like, a few months back, that was a problem. That could occur. There was also another issue, if you remember, where if you aggroed the boar and then ran away, it didn't show up on the minimap anymore, which was very tilting for anyone trying to do a boar play because they were like, where's the boar? They couldn't find it.
Okay, interesting. Yeah, that's not possible anymore because of the leash distance, but cool early game cheese tactics, early lifespan of the game.
It didn't disappear. Like, it didn't follow you forever. It's like on the mini-map, the icon would just randomly... Don't ask me how that even happened from a coding perspective, but attacking the ball would cause the icon to disappear.
That is weird. That's pretty bad for your opponent. Now, the Viper is going with early walling tactics. He's trying to wall the left side, but it is also being walled aggressively by PuppyPaw in order to secure, quote-unquote, his own sacred site. The right side has already been completed, so Viper taking a very proactive approach to denying sacred sites. The earliest sacred site capture time is usually around the 7-minute 30 mark, but note how PuppyPaw has Piety and Upgrade still, which means he didn't get the fastest possible mask. He delayed Piety, and first went to go get Sanctity. Sanctity will be done at about 8-minute mark. So it's slightly slower than the fastest Sanctity rush that would already have Piety complete, which is 40 bonus health on the Scali. But instead, he must have been focusing on some other things. I don't know exactly what. We didn't look at his pace all the time. But he's got a nice army of Spearman and Horsemen out. Viper, much lower in unit count than PuppyPaw had last game, I feel like. One Knight, one Archer at this stage in the game.
I think that the Knight was the threat that made him delay getting Sanctity too quickly as well, because like he knows there's going to be a threat in the field, so he wanted to prioritize getting some Spearmen and Horsemen out first. So maybe that kind of informed his choice. So he's like, I'm not going to use Sanctity right now, so I'll delay the timing, so I'm halfway through getting my hands on Piety instead. And the timing should line up perfectly here. Even getting the defenses up. Something we actually don't see as frequently anymore is exactly this. The enclosing of the Sacred Sites with the Spearmen, because remember that Delhi infantry can build wooden infrastructure out in the field. both the gates and the wooden palisades.
Yeah, that's sorry, I was memeing in chat for a second. It was important.
No, Grubby, bad Grubby.
Don't press Control W. Don't believe the memes because it will close the tab, and that's -1 viewer KW. So please go ahead. Kill it.
Very zealous Age of Empires free fan trying to get us off Age of Empires 4 by the sounds of it. Nah, not gonna do it like that. Shout out to the AoE free community. They're small, but they're committed. And you know what? Committed to the murder of scholars, these knights. This is what I was talking about, the value that you can find. Like, this is why you delayed it to try and protect this. The problem is, like, you did wall ahead, but you forgot behind.
Yeah. I mean, the way's pretty much open. Like, I don't know what that wall is about. Like, why would Viper go all the way around the bottom side, literally further? That's just gonna cost fuel that he doesn't want to burn.
It feels like a mind gaming wall. Like, he'll never look the other way. He looked the other way, didn't he?
Yeah, I mean, pathing is automatic in AoE 4, so even if you go the shortest path, your unit automatically goes to the open direction, which I guess isn't ideal, but it is what it is right now.
What was PuppyPaw watching at that moment? It's hard to, like... I know he came out of the stealth forest, but I would have thought he would have pulled back at least the second villager there. That's just 2 free villagers, and Viper didn't really have to do much to attain that.
Yeah, a couple of villagers going down. Sacred site in the middle, at least, has been taken. It's been walled off. We see Castle Age coming in from the Viper. Unlike what Viper managed against the Boar, PuppyPaw did not deny the Boar at all. Like, we didn't really super mention this, but where's the tower attack to deny the Boar? Is it because it's too far away, or he just has different priorities?
It's way too far. Like, could you imagine trying to pull villagers? Like, by the time he saw it, like, it was too late. Like, because here's the other awkward thing about trying to counter that play. Some of you can do this very efficient due to the changes around hunting game, where you carry a lot more. You can actually build the wooden fortress first when you go into the Boar. Right? And then
if you see trouble coming your way, right?
Exactly, because the whole importance of that is, like, because you gather so much meat before needing to drop off, you then have enough time to, like, have a few people grabbing meat while 1 or 2 people build the hunting cabin. It completes before they top off the capacity, and then you haven't lost any efficiency.
I like how, like, when the wall has 1 HP, it still needs like 30 more Molotov cocktails in order to go down.
Hey man, he's like, I don't want to see this wall again. It's like, it's just like it's a twig there, and you've just power punched it. Like, come on.
There was a wall, and PuppyPaw took that personal. But he's got 2 sacred sites. He's working on the 3rd, and the immediate wall up by the spearman that he brought. We've got a little juxtaposition of different styles here. Viper got an earlier Castle Age than PuppyPaw got last game with Roos, and PuppyPaw got more and earlier Sacred Sites, and Viper got more Boar. They're both getting away with more than what they were getting away with last game. Wow, that's a lot of villagers on the landmark. Holy damn.
That is not a house of learn, that's a house of worship right now. Good lord. PuppyPaw finds his way up. And now, probably going to be switching up into those tower elephants, looking to give Viper a taste of his own medicine from game number 3. But Viper also doing the exact same thing as he's now into horse archers.
Is he playing tower elephants? He's getting honed blades right now for some knight action. I don't see any archery ranges yet.
You're right.
Single blacksmith, so we're getting spears right now, spear production. He's not even getting the spear upgrade yet. No men-at-arms. Oh, okay, there's the archery range.
It just, like, I get where you're coming from. Like, you know, he's got home blades going, but it's free, right? Like, we talk about all the time.
Yeah,
like,
that's
Deli,
true.
like when you play Deli, you hit, like, the blacksmith, for example, you just click on it, and then you just, like, take your hand and slam it against the keyboard, because, like, it's all free.
Yeah.
So he'll get home blades eventually, and, like, I don't mind that as a pivot option if you need to. The problem with going for lancers or man-at-arms against the Roos horse archers is how you ever hit, right? They're like, oh no, he's running melee forces at me, runs away.
Yeah,
so
and especially if you start buffering the horse archers with scouts, I found that really annoying with the micro. Like, yeah, you can run past the scouts, but you cannot tell 26 lancers to each attack a separate horse archer. It's too micro intensive. And if they move in the wrong way, they get stuck behind other horse archers. So typically, you move towards them and then you A-move. Even if you continue to re-micro and move towards the horse archers and A-move, eventually you need to do an A-move. And if there's like 20 scouts in front, they're just great damage sponges, as horse archers get real kills and you do not. Nice walling by PuppyPaw here in the top side. He's walled all sacred sites. Now he's walled off his own base. We've got the sacred side victory condition ticking.
Wait, he hasn't walled off his... He's got one entrance still. He's guarding at least.
In front of the main base, right? Like, that's fine. It funnels people towards where your army is.
Yeah, and it'll be fun for him because, of course, right now it's only horse archers. The horsemen are able to deter him away. Of course, the horsemen moving faster than his horse archers. And yeah, it's interesting to think about like the dynamics at play right now because if Viper's able to just decap one sacred site, he might try to race towards Imperial. So PuppyPaw has to balance these static defenses with a mobile force to keep intercepting back and forth between these sacred sites.
Yep. And defending 3 sacred sites for an actual win condition, it's nothing like King of the Hill. You don't make 5 outposts and 2 keeps at one of them and be like, I'm good. I just have to hold this and win. And, you know, generally the defender wins on King of the Hill. But on this map, I mean, the sacred sites are more of a means to an end for income and for pressure.
Yeah. It's mainly just like the income, like it's just such a big deal for the Delhi because they get the extra 50%, right? So 150 gold per sacred site per minute adds up pretty damn quick in these games. And I think the thing you're usually looking for is the relic unlock. We talked about it and how you can actually make that work to your advantage if you are first up as Delhi to gather like 4 relics at once because you already have your scholars. We have to remember PuppyPaw wasn't first to tech up, which is why he's only gonna get 2 of the 5 relics on the map due to Viper plowing out with the warrior monks. So
not too bad though, getting 2. It's pretty solid, pretty legit. I'd love to see a little view of the Viper's base and kind of what he's producing. He's going horse archers and trebuchets. That's all he has right now, together with a couple of warrior monks. We see very little to no farming right now. Yeah, no farming at all. So where is he getting his food? Altai, of course, has a lot of extra triple deer patch camps that can kind of help tie things together besides the usual suspects. The boar has run out. I do feel like Viper could get food issues soon-ish. There's still a mini deer patch at the bottom. He's working on the main deer patch in his main. But let's say in the next couple of minutes, he needs to start working on farms. And that needs a large wood attribution. But he kind of feels pressured because PuppyPaw's triple sacred sites are still canning.
Which is why he's moving out now to try and decap. That's going to force some pressure around the center where some tower elephants are waiting to have their fun. But weirdly enough, PuppyPaw hasn't reacted yet. Looks like he's now shifting in. I don't like the Warrior Monk's chances in that battle. Yeah, I don't like the Warrior Monk's chances in that battle. Leave, sir. Just leave. Oh, he can't even get out.
Let this be known that elephants do not ask you to hold the door open. Chivalry is dead. They just order you to break that wall or they will bloody well do it themselves. They're charging in. This is a lot of horse archers.
I mean, I'm telling you, right? Elephants, they're kind of like the Kool-Aid man of Age of Empires, right? They just, oh yeah, just make their own entrance wherever they choose. And you see, this is annoying because he has to dive past the elephants to take out the scholars, means he's being meleeed in the face by these elephants as well as being peppered by arrows. A bad trade there. Just to get 1 or 2 scholars max alongside a horseman costs him several horse archers.
I offer you 8 horse archers and I get 1 scholar. PuppyPaw's like a little confused, but he's like, yeah, okay.
This feels like when you're playing Settlers of Catan with that person who just won't do a deal, right? Or Monopoly is a better example. Like, I will give you $1,000 for that useless card you have. You're not even building on it. I don't feel like doing that trade.
Ruthless board game players. Gotta hate it.
The optimal gameplay theories, and now look at this. Viper trying to get that foothold with the keep and the move in. You have to be fast about this. Sprinkel's coming out. Not really sure what the plan is with that. They don't really counter anything on the front line right now. Maybe to snipe out the scholars for free. That could be the move.
The scholars have
they're going to get sniped out for free.
160?
130, I think.
But the 40 bonus health. I think they have like 160-ish, 170 maybe. So yeah, you need a couple of sprinkled shots to take them down with 30 apiece. And that's if they're not getting healed. Elephants take only 25 damage from sprinkles. So quick math tells us that you need something like 40 shots of sprinkles. Pretty crazy.
It's not the age of sprinkles. You don't get to do it that fast. But he's trying to show you the help of scholars there, but they die too quick to the keeps. But it's like 90 base, and then party gives you an extra 40, right? So I think it's 130. And then if you get Imperial tech. And let's not even do those numbers. You're playing Delhi, you don't get Imperial.
Nice defense by the Viper here. I mean, those elephants were looking pretty scary on the keep, but the combination of shooting, repairing, and a kind of timid approach with the horse archers only going in to finish off elephants with a couple of springled shooting. I mean, you can say what you want about springleds. It's not Age of Springleds anymore, but they still have the range. And Any damage on elephants that keeps you out of distance of their own double archer setup on that canopy abreast of the elephant, it helps. Meanwhile, though, Viper did lose many villagers from that.
Exactly, but I think the bigger deal to think about here is like PuppyPaw over-calibrated on the screens, right? He dove for them in a situation where he shouldn't have been diving a keep, and that is why like he took such heavy casualties. Like I think you're right, the screens will add damage in over time, but right now what's more important for PuppyPaw is maintaining his front force. Look at the timer. We're 4 minutes away from a Sacred Site victory, and when you throw away troops like that, you offer up an opportunity, a sign of weakness that Viper could exploit.
Look at the food per minute for Viper. I mentioned this about 4 minutes ago that he had no farming setup. Now he's got almost no food production. And with the Horse Archer Springled Army, these are the few units in the game that cannot burn walls. Let's look at the two sacred sites on the east and west side, because some of our clever viewers must be thinking, why not just go for another sacred site? Why not shift focus? Well, this is very far away, covered by 2 walls on the north side, 1 wall on the south side.
And this is so many walls.
Yeah,
He's trying to get there.
How do you burn through that? He would have to pull villagers. He already doesn't have enough economy. It looks like this is going to be another slow squeeze. King of the Hill-esque with 3 minutes left, with Viper having 6 Springles and 1 Trebuchet. This is going to be mighty difficult, Killer Pigeon, to break through in time.
Oh my god, and it's about to get worse. Like, it's 1 trip to break through these walls, and look where the elephants are going. They're going to deal with that. They want to get some fiber in their diets. That Trebuchet is exposed, and Viper would not see this coming.
Well, 2 are coming back. They have enough fiber. They're going to take a poop now on the Springles, as it looks like. A very healthy one.
That decat looks so pathetic. It's like, yep, Horse Archers, don't mind us just standing here, nervously looking left and right like, you don't have the health for this. Get out of here. And, flood through.
If they can hold this!
No, the Scholar, the Spearman, he needs to hop on there. He needs to hold on. He can actually jump on them and force them off, so he'll be able to recap this. There's definitely enough elephants to get rid of a few measly Horse Archers here. That's a one-sided fight.
Maybe if he micros the Horse Archers, he can get the elephants down? No.
He calls it. He actually just calls GG. We're going to a game 5, folks. So many people look at this. They're like, Viper, he looks like the clear favorite, but PuppyPaw is biting back piece for piece. But all I know, game 5 will be the final one. We won't get this ridiculous back and forth swapping of civs. It's going to come down to a barn burner best of 1.
Oh my god. What map is there still? There's French Boss, isn't there? French Boss is the second home map for the Viper. We're going to French Boss. This started out as a Golden League bronze match. Now it's a rubber match. We're going through all the materials here.
I mean, I'm hyped for this. Like, I was hoping to see at least 4 games. I wasn't sure we would get to 5, but I'm happy we did. And the style, the way in which we've done it, Grubby. I mean, you said about Viper early on this series, like he doesn't like mirror matchups, so he's going to go out of his way to avoid them. And it feels like PuppyPaw somewhat exploited that, because each time he's seen it, it's like, okay, I'll just take the civ. I'll just
learning from the Viper.
I'll just swap it around, right? We'll just switch it each time. But now we get only 1 game, right? You can't learn from what your opponent done and replicate it. You need to come out with something spicy in this 5th game between PuppyPaw and Viper.
I can't believe it's going to come down to a Mongols versus Holy Roman Empire game. We've got PuppyPaw on the left playing as Holy Roman Empire on French Boss in the red, and Viper in the blue on the right side, the bottom side, with Mongols. Statistically, on the ladder, as you can see on AOE4world.com, there are a lot of ladder statistics there. Mongols has one of the most lopsided advantageous matchups against HRE for the most of the duration of the game's lifespan. This is why you mostly see HRE played on their own home maps. Most notably, Hill and Dale and French Boss. HRE are the strongest civ that aren't strong on some maps. They're really crazily strong, but you can't play them on Dry Arabia and Lipini and Altai all that often, unless you've got a strong mental read on what your opponent might bring there. For if you're against Mongols, tower denial tactics, rushes like that, relic denial tactics, it just becomes too much. Now, Holy Roman Empire did get buffed. They have a starting prelate with minus 100 gold as to what they used to have. So essentially, it's like you start the game and the HRE already made their prelates before you showed up to take control and assume control as the commander of the game. Mongols, they got some nerfs. Khan has received a couple of nerfs compared to a patch from a couple of weeks ago, and their YAM network is not as good as it used to be. Yeah.
Yeah, it just disappears the moment you go out of range, which was
Yeah.
such a big deal. And it's interesting because some players have been experimenting with the silver tree as a result of that. I don't
Oh
see it
yeah.
too frequently out of Viper, however, not necessarily expecting that play, but something that Viper does like to do against certain composite forces is Magadai. And I have to say, Magadai isn't the worst idea against the HRE because
Yeah.
when was the last time you saw an HRE player building archers?
Yeah, true. And well, every time I play against what's his name? I forgot his name for a sec, but there's someone that really loves it. There's one HRE main, Sado Masochist, that loves playing HRE only on every map. And he used to be like top 30, and now I think he's outside of the... Yeah, Matisse, there we go, Matisse.
Is it
yes.
Matisse? Yeah, I was about to say, because Matisse, like, he admittedly, Matisse, the shout out Matisse, he actually did diversify. He was going hard into the roost for a little bit, but yeah, he was one of the OG HRE players, along with shout out to Iagaz, who was also one of the original mainstays of the HRE civ. But
yeah, Hutz and Fitzy here, some of the big HRE carriers. But all right, let's talk about what's happening here. Whether it's going to be Mangudai or archers or horsemen or whatnot, that is neither here nor there. What is here on French Pass is a barracks opening by the Viper. Stone generation isn't as much as it used to be from Ovu, but it's still enough to crank out double spearmen a couple of times. We used to see 8 or 10 or 12 spearmen rush. These days, 2 or 4 is enough, really, to make a statement. Accompany the tower, and that seems to be what Viper has gone for. He went for 4 spearmen, and that's going to accompany outpost production.
The goal here isn't to, like, finish your opponent, right? That's the thing about outpost
win
rushes.
the game.
Unless you're against a very tilted player, the purpose has changed, right? Like, it's to deny equity and frustrate and force a reaction that costs more of than your own investment. And it's quite feasible with the layout of PuppyPaw's base. You saw it there. The Holy Ark and Chapel. So much value, but all of that value condensed under one area means that with 2, possibly 3 outposts, Viper can make your starting boom very uncomfortable in this game.
Yeah, and this is why sometimes you may want to go for mine work to decentralize your economy. And nonetheless, Aachen is the safer, easier, more economical approach, even when partially it gets denied. You're still gathering bonus sheep under your town center, bonus food on that. You still got bonus wood. The first outpost is going to come up. May see an immediate archery range if wood actually is enough right there, but it isn't at the moment. There isn't enough wood at this time. And the question is, we need to do a quick sheep survey. How much sheep does PuppyPaw have? Because he's going to get completely contained by Viper if Viper can help it.
And I think if he's got a few sheep, the play might actually be stables into scouts. It's another play we've seen done quite frequently that also opens up pro scouts, and it's very good at torching down these outposts. So we'll have to see. Yeah. I think that is an archery range, though. And I can't believe it. Like, I don't remember the last time I got to say archery range with an HRE player at any stage in the game before 25 minutes. It's been a long time, Grubby.
If you've ever played against Mongols, you know about needing to make archery range. There's no choice about it. And he's going for it. It's correct. It stops villagers from walking up outside of the, what do you call it, the slow crawl of towers. Like, this is an illegal spot for archers, whereas 600 range of the outpost could be legal.
That's a legal spot for an outpost right there. The amount of torches whipped out. He's like, get the hell off my lawn!
Rebel, 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 rebel.
A little rave in PuppyPaw's base here. Denial just in time for Viper. And look at that. He did get rid of the mining camp. So remember, when you're the Mongols, if you burn any buildings, it's 25 food and gold. So already getting a little bit of pay in the bank for his aggression.
Not bad for the Viper. He's also going to be aging up before the 6-minute mark. Used to be normal to age up at 6:15 for Mongols after tower rushing. The 4 spearman approach sees you age up a little bit earlier. And it is going to be the silver tree, which does get scouted. This is cool. Now, Killer Pigeon, tell me how you feel about that in 1 second after I say, you said he's inexperienced with Silvertree. The problem is, if you are, you're going to get very unpredictable economy flow. But tell me why you like it.
Okay, so Silvertree, in this matchup, the reason I usually like it is because it offers itself up to Magadai play really well because of the way that you are free to go Kurultai. That's the detail that matters here. Kurultai, it seems like it's been a meme for a long time, but The reason it's a meme is because step readout looks so good. The way that you actually forgo step readout is this. Silver Tree gives you your gold influx, which has always been the biggest upside of Mongols, right? Like either you get Silver Tree or you get step readout, but either way, you're getting paid. And now that you have the Silver Tree, Cruel Tide is on the menu. Cruel Tide is a phenomenal aggressive tool, giving a 25% damage buff for 30 seconds to all units nearby, as well as a healing factor. It's a big tool, and I wouldn't be surprised if Viper was considering Magadai, but now that his opponent has gone for archers, this is where the plan changes. We see him switch in the stable, the horsemen are going to push, and these horsemen are very effective because if he can keep PuppyPaw boxed in his base, that's how you get away the Silver Tree play, by making sure your opponent can't get in the way of this trade route.
Yeah, gotta make the horseman, but at the meantime, PuppyPaw is still spreading himself across, of course, Castle Age designs. Feudal, infinite feudal aggression, locking yourself into that against anyone, let alone a Mongol player that has vision everywhere with towers, can be a really daunting prospect.
Ooh. And this is really heads up by Viper. Like, the reason I love the horseman so much is your opponent built archers, right? Okay, yeah, thank you, Pigeon. You're so smart. That's like a very obvious thing. Yes,
yeah.
Horsemen are good against archers. Yeah, but you're playing against an HRE player who done that. HRE players are very stingy. They're little Scrooge McDucks. They don't want to spend more money than they need to, right? They want to boom up. So once they build an archery range, you're practically guaranteed that is the only military infrastructure they're going to have until their race of a castle. And you see this double stable, but notice that he's not pushing troops out of it yet. He wants his castle age, and he's going to be punished for his greed now as Viper spots him on the secondary gold line and pushes him away.
Difficult decision to be made, Killer Pigeon. You've got enough gold to go castle, but no gold to make knights if you get there. One of your golds is denied entirely by outposts. All the middle golds are off the charts. They're unavailable. Your second gold has both of your stables, and you can't make knights even if you get to Castle Age. Do you go Reknitz, or do you go for Burgrave Palace?
I do like my burgers, but I know he likes his
I feel
gold.
like it has to be Burgrave. He's going for Reknitz. That's his build.
Also, keep in mind, like, his food. You highlighted the sheep issue, right? And you see that he's now switching into farms. This makes it even more awkward because a Burgrave alleviates that heavy, dense cost of wood to get your infrastructure up. You have 5 racks efficient via that landmark. Now, you need to find additional wood to push those because, as you said, you can't get on the gold right now, and your stables are already half torched. And remember, they're not daisy chained in right now, so no emergency repairs opportunity. You're probably going to lose these.
He's dead in the water. By going Reknitz, he has succumbed to the ultimate greed. And, you know, I know sometimes people may think Reknitz is wrong and it ends up being correct anyway, but I literally don't see what he's gonna do now. He doesn't have the gold to make knights. He can't repair these stables. They're dying. He's gonna make 2 houses to do the blueprint connection so that he can do... Okay, now he can emergency repair. We can look at the stables. Even the blueprint of buildings actually gives you the influence, whether that's entirely designed or not. But it's not banned, so it's legit. And, you know, anyone can use that until it is in the rules that it's not. So he did the emergency repair, but he still doesn't have gold. He cannot make a thing. Look at the production queue for PuppyPaw.
He's going to the central gold veins. That's how desperate he is. Remember, folks, French Pass has changed a lot with the way they readapted it. But one thing that's always been true is you only get 2 baby gold veins on your side of the map. You have to move to the center, and now he's going to be exposed there. I wouldn't be surprised if we see a few more horsemen come out. But in the meantime, torch damage done. And yes, you did repair this, but keep in mind, every time you repair it, Viper gets paid again when he sets it on fire. So it's 25 food, 25 gold for each of these buildings being set on fire. And this is where emergency repairs actually can be a downside to the HRE.
If you wait till 10% life, yeah. Like, you gotta hit it a little bit earlier. But PuppyPaw right now has 1 knight, and Viper still has the 4 spears from his early rush. So the knight can't even win the game.
Look how much work they've done. Like, look how much work they have done. I would love to see a damage stat on these units because they've definitely paid for themselves. And come on, he's got E-repairs right now, but it's not. He says
no, he cancelled his blueprints. He cancelled his blueprints. So he can't repair it. The second knight will not come out. Wait, he doesn't have a knight yet. It was just in production.
Yeah. No,
1 archer, 1 relic, 35 villagers, no scouts, 3 farms, and his sheep are dwindling. There's an outpost on his wood line. Let's take a quick look at Viper's base before it's too late, because we have that silver tree I'm sorry, but
thank you, Captain Positive, right there. Oh my God! Speaking of positive, it's raining gold in Viper's base. And remember, folks, he had the silver tree parked next to this Uvu. The reason being is you can double produce traders, 112 stone per, very affordable with this build, and it means he gets that online quicker. And it means in the next 2 to 3 minutes, he's gonna be booming up in the castle. And PuppyPaw, although he's already been in castle for what feels like a few minutes, this feels like it's lasting a lifetime to get anything valuable on the field due to the way he's been denied by Viper.
Now we know why one of the lowest win rate stats for HRE is against Mongols, especially when combined with that incessant HRE greed. Perhaps going mass scouts and archers would have been better here. The scouts maybe to burn the towers, then into pro scouts and whatnot, archers to control the early battlefield, a couple of spears against horse. Of course, if he did that, he would be extended feudal, no castle age, into nonetheless a silver tree booming fiesta on the other side of the map. Even losing 0 villagers, mining everything he wanted to, just investing thousands into a feudal age army would still see him behind. Because guess what? Silver tree is like a second town center that you don't need to pay for initially. The silver tree is free because it's part of your age job. The traders obviously are not free, but the investment is so easily paid back off as long as you have enough time that even if you're just left alone for a few minutes, that's your second town center, your new source of economy scaling. So it's not good enough to win on your own side of the map if you mass feudal produce as PuppyPaw. You need to take that fight all the way back to the Mongol side of the map, have that army still be relevant and not countered, and an archer ball travels pretty slowly on French Pass across the other side of the map, and then start killing traders in order to be happy with that decision. So some of you may be thinking, PuppyPaw, why did you play so greedy? Why did you go straight to castle? Oftentimes it's a catch-22.
So I wrote down all the conditions for how PuppyPaw could have made that work in the feudal, and at this point the scroll is at my feet, so that took a while. So I can see there's a lot of conditions, right? Like, it's not easy for you to counter this, and I think that the interesting thing to think about is the choice to go spears by Viper. It forces the archers because you can't go horsemen. Horseman's the only way you can make this work. Like everything else you push is static. You don't get march drills early, so you've got these sluggish units. You can build man arms, sure they can dive, but look at him run right now. Look at that guy. Honest to God, he clearly just had a full meal. Like, that guy may have been to McDonald's a few too many times this week because he can barely move by the looks of it. They're
wearing like 20 kilograms of armor, right? That's
no, I'm going to fat shame
45
him.
Pounds.
He's definitely got a big belly under there. You can see this guy doesn't do too much working out, you know. Maybe a little bit strong lifting, but no, not too much leg day. Langspec in the mix is an interesting choice, though.
Speaking of men-at-arms, I wonder if that could have worked. If you go like 5 men-at-arms with armor upgrade, and you send them at the towers, and you just...
Here we go.
What did he get? Kurultai?
He got the Kurultai. It's here. This is what I was talking about. This is big, folks. If you actually have a look at the Kurultai right now, because what is this weird thing? We don't see it. It's a ghost, right? It's a mythical creature. It's a pixie in the wild. This is an amazing structure right here. Gives a 25% damage buff for 30 seconds to all units in its range if the Khan is in range, and also heals them. But notice that important detail here. This is where a lot of players don't like it. It's the micro of the Khan. The Khan becomes center of the strategy because if you lose him, you lose the ability to get that buff.
So the Khan must stay alive. So far, that went well. Now, some of you may be wondering also, man, Kurultai, I wonder what the etymology of that is. Well, Kura is the Proto-Mongolic word for gathering, to collect, to gather. And Kural would mean meeting or assembly. There you go. Nobody asked. Not one person wondered.
I'm just nodding my head right now, just being the typically ignorant Brit that I should be here. I was like, well, no. Why don't they should just call it Kill Faster. Kill Faster sounds like a better name. Because it really does kill faster. Like, to use the comparison to the Magadai I was talking about earlier, I know we're not going to see it now, folks, but as an example, because it's ludicrous, if you use Kurultai Magadai strategy, it puts them up to about 17, 18 damage in castle age per shot. It's
ludicrous. That's a lot.
And it's going to be ludicrous with Lancers as well. We're seeing Lancers come out in the field. Consider the high damage already being increased by 25%. It's going to be almost impossible for PuppyPaw to take good trades.
Yeah. Viper has 64 economy. That includes the villagers. This Lancer killed a bunch of villagers, idled the rest. We're at 64 versus 33 economy. PuppyPaw has 3 archers, a Landsknecht, 8 men-at-arms, and a ram. So he's finally dealing with the outposts. Viper has crossbows coming out. Nice. He's got siege engineering. Uh-oh. He wants to end this.
I just like, I'm sorry, I can't stop chuckling at the fact PuppyPaw is now getting rammed to 16 minutes in. It's just kind of like at that stage, like, you know when you wait in a game for it to be worth getting siege engineering for someone to build enough outposts? It's like, yes, Viper has built enough outposts for this to be justified now. And there's that clock going down. So.
Number 9 outpost. I was waiting to see if you would commit the extra 100 wood. I won't do it for anything less than 9.
And in the meantime, just 16 minutes have passed in the game. You're the HRE player, man. Have some self-respect because right now you're being out-ecoed by the Mongol, clearly. Oof. These lances, I mean, this is just it feels like a free raid game right now. Like, I haven't seen anything from PuppyPaw that stops these raids from ever occurring. No early walls, no good defensive outposts, and that's actually a big crime we see out of a lot of HRE players. I mentioned the situation around production buildings, but it's the same with outposts. They are such Scrooges. They don't want to spend anything to safely guard the early game. They just expect to be allowed to boom up for free, and Viper shows you exactly how you can punish them for having that assumption.
And also, it comes back a bit to the draft pick as well, because it's very possible that PuppyPaw was expecting an HRE mirror on, you know, the old turtle map, French boss. Maybe he wanted to abuse a Chinese pick from the Viper with HRE. But it had to have been on his mind that Mongols would be a possibility. Against Mongols, HRE, it's a very risky, tricky pick. And maybe there some things went wrong that we are not 100% aware of, not 100% privy to. But this is pretty much what I expect in a Mongol HRE game. Oh my god, that silk route.
He's making, but actually, Grubby, I can tell you what went wrong here. Like, it's actually something that I am quite privy to. PuppyPaw picked HRE. That's,
yeah, I know, but
I got it like that.
I don't want to do all those HRE mains watching right now dirty, because we got like 10,000 viewers right now, if not more. I think we've got more than 10,000 viewers at this time, and at least 7% of those, no, at least 4% of those must be HRE players.
3.5, maybe.
Yeah.
Hey, no, it's a good thing when we say these things, Grubby, because then they're like, yeah, buff HRE. I mean, right now, Viper makes them look like they need a buff, because this is just completely one-sided. Something I want to point out, actually, is like the Mongol pick. You know, kind of less seen because we just don't see French pass right now. We don't see Mongols on it. It's just the correlation. And people forget the choices.
You think that's what they're saving themselves for? French pass for Silver Tree play? Maybe.
Well, I remember the early days. It was actually the map where I think people were experimenting with the Silver Tree the most because of the trade location, right? Like you can see on this map, you have options as well in each corner, so it's even harder to shut off the trade entirely.
Yeah. Yeah, it's challenging. Like, if you just let HRE castle up, by 10 minutes, they're going to use Night Disruption on your trade route, and you'll use Mangudai and they pick up a few relics, but you're not supposed to give HRE that much time. Viper understood this win condition very well. He played it cleanly. Also, with his third outpost attempt over the Aachen Chapel, he idled a lot of PuppyPaw's villagers, and he would cancel the tower exactly when the torches were mid-air. Which means not a single one hit, which means he lost 0% of the 100 wood investment when he cancelled it. If you wait even a bit, you take a few hits, you lose a couple of wood, you lose a bit of wood. No, this was perfect tower rush play by Viper, transitioning to an economic landmark that he very clearly felt comfortable with managing. He's now swimming in gold, 3,000 gold per minute. Happy times for the Viper.
Like you mentioned that micro play, you know what the beautiful irony in it is? The only one who was losing resources there was PuppyPaw, because that's extra time his villagers were idling, trying to torch buildings down. By the way, I can't do my boy like that, but I have to point it out. PuppyPaw, why have you walled the north side? Like Viper has no interest in raiding north side. He just parked here right now, and PuppyPaw with his baby eco took this time to build a wall up that isn't even needed in this game. That's how freaked out he is. That's how aware he is that Viper has mid-map control. One other thing I really want to praise in this game, by the way, as we say bye-bye to Relic, no gold for you.
And why is it
the guy who has so much gold, right? This Silver Tree play is remarkable, considering the Yam got nerfed. It used to be easier to be efficient with this play due to the outpost Yam lingering. Now that it doesn't, the build-up is actually a lot harder to achieve than it once was just a few weeks ago.
Yeah, true. You need more outposts. See, trading is good for any civ, and it's best for certain civs like Abbasid, Mongols, and French. But it's good for any civ. It is extremely profitable. It's one of the most common questions that we get, why people don't trade more, why aren't they establishing trade? And it's always both the risk involved and the delay. No one is questioning the worth. It's the risk and the delay. The delay is less bad here because he opened with the tower rush. The risk is less bad because of the map. And now the payoff is here. And he can make some outposts. And like you said, the outpost Jan, well, let's hold that thought because we've got maybe the fight of the game going on here. Mangonels are going in hard. Men-at-Arms are scrambling to the defense. Killer Pigeon.
Oh, the Mangonel is looking for the good shots, but in the wrong place. It's actually going off the man-arms instead of the archer formation. The crossbow stand the ground in the meantime. Magos are going to switch over and watch how heavy this damage is going to be. Force them away. The start step PuppyPaw, even when on match point, even when under pressure, he keeps the micro up. He dodges the shots out and gets the good trades. And now the Mangonel instead diverts his attention elsewhere, trying to hit the prelate, but getting bad trades that wrap around in the meantime. PuppyPaw able to breach around the back and look to deal with the melee force while he holds ground in the center. But you have to question what for? Where is this going to? His resources being depleted and Viper non-stop with the push is still gaining ground.
I'm extremely impressed as well how PuppyPaw managed that micro battle, constantly stutter-stepping his archers, taking down crossbow after crossbow, wrapping around with the men-at-arms. That's about as good of a fight that you could do under the conditions. But what are those conditions? He's in the middle of the ocean, not land or boats in sight, and he's treading water, and Viper is coming in with a little helping hand to put him right under. PuppyPaw scrambling to stay alive here. But there's so many outposts here. His relic has been denied. His Recnitz is dead. Viper is following through. That's it. GG.
He gives it over. Ladies and gentlemen, Viper has done it. With this win, he qualifies to Red Bull Wololo Legacy. Wait, I thought he'd already done that. He did. Not only for AoE 2, but now for Age of Empires 4. This man will be fighting for the lion's share of a $500,000 prize pool. Insane from the Snake. Wow.
A third place here in the Golden League, a league that spanned over many weeks, a crowning achievement. Finally, despite losing yesterday in the semifinals, massive congratulations to the Viper and massive, massive hand up to PuppyPaw as well. This 23-year-old from Canada has $863 in prize money earnings historically across all games he has ever played, unless he played a couple of games with other kids on the block in the street for marbles and whatnot. But this is insane. We've also reached 10,000 viewers, and Gear of War has gifted. He's followed up true to his word. 10 gift subs. Thank you so much for all your sub support, guys. This is the time to show what you think of AoE 4 esports, what you think of Golden League, Red Bull Wololo, as you show some support here to the EGC channel. Thank you so much. But PuppyPaw, how far did he come, Killer Pigeon? 2-3 against the legend, the Viper, nearly clinching it in terms of score, nearly qualifying. And he's still got a chance for Red Bull Wololo. There's going to be many weekends with qualifiers, and he has put on the pedestal here a fantastic performance.
Can I just can I just bring it to that? Actually, it came to 5 games, and obviously, you know, we have to have a winner. But I would have loved to have seen what happened. We had 6 games. And then we saw the Mongol HRE reverse again, because that's the amazing thing. I want to give credit to PuppyPaw. Even though Viper won, and I'm not taking anything away from it, he's phenomenal. This is what we expected from the Snake. PuppyPaw is clearly a player to watch, and he's presented that. The way he learned across the entirety of Golden League, and the way he even learned in this series, midway, game after game, shows you the adaptability of a future champion. And I look forward to seeing what he's going to be able to do in the road to Red Bull Wololo, as I am almost certain he will be one of your qualifying players without sounding too biased. But congratulations to Viper getting himself that slot. You know, there were question marks as to whether this lad would maybe continue on with Age of Empires 4, with AoE 2 already being in the bag. And now it gets more interesting because this guy, he has control of both prize pools potentially. He'll be competing in both AoE 2 and AoE 4. But I think what we're going to do now is we're going to hop into a call with him in the EGC channel, and then we're going to ask a few questions to Viper, the winner of that series. All about, but now we're good. Here we go. Lidicor's here. So we heard. Right. First of all, let's open up with the obvious things we got to see. Congratulations, Viper. Phenomenal performance there. 5 games is what it took. Were you caught off guard? Were you surprised by the fight that PuppyPaw put up?
Hello, by the way, and thank you. And no, I was not surprised. I mean, drafting is so important as well. You see the civ matchups. Like, I won 2 games with the 2 civs he won 2 games with as well in the same matchup. So It was pretty funny, that part. And in the end, I think also French Pass HRE is a very brave choice, very brave.
Yeah.
So credit to him for that, but it didn't pay off. But I mean, surprised by his performance? Not at all. He is even yesterday against Beastie, I felt like he put himself in a good spot in multiple other games, and he was just not able to like carry it on as the game went on. So he's definitely a player I think we'll see in Heidelberg as well.
Yeah, and you know, like that was something on people's mind for Heidelberg on her, you know, on horizon, quite a way away still, a lot of grinding to do. That grind and focus, a lot of people maybe weren't sure if you were going to continue to compete for the Age of Empires 4 slot with AoE 2 already being guaranteed. Does this maybe change the plan a little? Was the plan always to do both? Are you going to be maybe looking to split your attention between AoE 4 and AoE 2 moving on towards Red Bull?
Well, I have more stuff coming up in AV2 right now, so my focus will definitely switch back to that.
Hmm.
Um, it's hard to say. Obviously, playing 2 games at a high level is impossible. I mean, if I wanna compete to try and win one, I would have to commit 100% on one. I cannot do both and be like I'm also the type of guy, if I do both and I get, like, even, like, top 4 on both games, I probably wouldn't be happy. So, I, uh, I will probably want to defend my title in AV2, and AV4 will probably be I'll show up, I'll do my best, maybe do whatever Salami is doing on the ladder, try to make that work in tournaments. Uh, Something like that.
Well,
That's respectable.
however you end up prioritizing your time and practice, I hope fans can have some good understanding and support for your decisions. Like you said, it is virtually impossible to split your attention between 2 games and actually expect to get the victory. And I think everyone respects that a lot. You're trying to go for that victory there. Uh, Viper, hello, by the way.
Hi.
I didn't say hi yet. Uh, you know, let's talk about this final game here. We were wondering if you are going to be ready, and I know we have to keep this short because we got a best of 9 coming up. Just speaking about this game, you said Civ Draft was big. Final game. We were wondering, are you ready for a Silver Tree game here? Did you manage that economy well enough? Did you prepare with that in mind?
Actually, I haven't played this in forever. I played it in a practice game against Lucifron once, and it felt strong. So I was like, that has to be pretty good. But I was expecting Mongol's Mirror. Like the HRE pick from him was surprising.
Ah.
Um, but
Hmm.
yeah, like Silvertree, I mean, I've played it a couple of times in ladder. Whenever it gets going, it's insane. So yeah, I mean, as soon as I got like the second tower up and the third tower cost a lot of idle time, I felt comfortable. I was surprised he was still able to get to cast stage so fast and that he didn't try to fight off more in feudal age. I think that was probably too greedy.
Yes.
Um, but yeah, like I knew my Silvertree was up and running. I knew all the action would be around his base, so I felt like super comfortable for the most part.
Yeah,
That
and
makes a lot of sense. We'd probably love to ask questions all day about your gaming exploits, but I think the show has to go on, right, Killer Pigeon?
it does, but one question around that is the question that's got to be asked, Viper. You know, you've seen these 2 players in the grand final action, people getting hyped for it. Best of 9 coming up, very long series, fatigue to consider, repeat option in Civ choices as well. Who do you think is going to take this one?
I would probably put my money on Marine Lord. I think he's playing great. Of course, Beast is an amazing player as well and plays really good. But I think Marine Lord, I think even late game now, he has probably analyzed his own mistakes and understands the late game part of the game, like the late game aspect as well, way better. So I think they're very equal, but I would put a slight edge on Marine Lord.
All right, so maybe 9 games coming though. You can see it going the full distance, right?
Not impossible.
All right. Well, thank you, Viper. Congratulations on qualifying Red Bull Wololo Legacy. Congrats on getting yourself a solid third place finish in Golden League. It's been a long and taxing event, and you've definitely delivered a lot of entertaining moments for us. So we appreciate you. Congratulations. You go celebrate. We'll get on with the show.
Thank you very much. Enjoy.